I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0,
self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Well, good evening, and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, DLive, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, well, welcome back. Sorry for being a little punk. But sometimes you get tired, and that's just the way it goes. So forgive me for that and for taking some time off. But I feel like $1,000,000, and I'm back at it, and we're doing some weird stuff tonight. I got a doozy, as usual, right? I got a doozy because there's a lot going on, not just, let's say, in current events, if you've been paying any attention to that stuff, which we're not really going to talk about, but it does make you wonder about these larger cycles of why we talk about these circular aspects of humanity and why they continue to be a thing. Like I keep saying, how come we end up in these cycles, these human cycles that seem ridiculous over and over and over again? And I'm not even that old. Imagine if you've been sitting around, let's say you're a dimensional entity or something, and you've got, thousands of years under your belt, you wouldn't be surprised at anything anymore, because certainly these recurring cycles, repetitive cycles, are nothing new under the sun. Once again, over and over and over again. Which brings us, by the way, to the actual subject at hand. Tonight, I'm talking about the sun. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm talking about the sun. Now, what the hell does that mean? It means a lot of things. Because clearly, without the sun, we've done lots of shows on the sun in the past, because this is, I don't know, let's call it astrology in its most basic sense, because astrology, of course, is the larger wheel, the great cycle. The sun is a 22-year cycle of highs and lows, of sunspots, of electromagnetism, of all manner of weird stuff. Now, we can chart it. We've measured it, kind of, mostly. Remember the Parker Solar Probe? We talked about that way back when we first started this show. So we're measuring this thing. However, it almost seems as if these larger cycles are cooked in somehow, baked in. We're so cooked, James. And so, which leads us to this, the inspiration for tonight. Shout out Brian Remley over there on Twitter X. An amazing follow, a great guy, and very, very smart. Check this out. He posted this. The peak of this Chizhevsky clock cycle is mid-July. Chizhevsky, am I even saying that right? He says, understand, a clock does not make time. It shows time. And on this chart, if you're not watching the stream, it goes a little something like this. It's got these sort of peaks in these certain time frames of the Iran hostage crisis, Desert Storm, Afghanistan and Iraq, Libya, Syria, and that's 1980, 1990, just after 2000, early 2000s, and then it's Libya, Syria, somewhere 2012, 2013, and now the current 11 or 22 year solar cycle, depending on how you have it or not, HALVE it, halve it or not. We're in another one of these where we're talking about Iran. Okay. That's all I'm going to talk about regarding current events. That's it. I'm not going to bring it up again, but you get the idea. It seems like we're kind of cooked into these cycles. It's baked in, or we're cooked. It's baked in. I like both. But anyway, you get the idea. Now, where this came from is this individual by the name of Alexander Chizhevsky. Saying that terribly. Pardon my Russian. 100% I do not speak Russian. I promise you that. But yeah, check it out. So Alexander, oh my goodness, Leonidovich Chizhevsky. Yes, I'm learning Russian as we go. Born February 1897, passed December 1964, was a Soviet-era interdisciplinary scientist, a biophysicist who founded heliobiology, which we'll get to momentarily here, the study of the sun's effect on biology, and aeroionization, the study of effect of ionization of air on biological entities. He was also noted for his work in cosmobiology, biological rhythms, and hematology. And the thing that caught my attention on this, and these links will be in the description below, I ran out of time, so I wasn't able to, but this is a double post by Brian Remley on Twitter X, again, at BRIAN, Brian, ROEMMELE. Please give him a follow. He's an amazing dude and always posting amazing insights. But check this out. He posted this, and this is back from June 22nd. Alexander Chizhevsky's research is robust from 500 BC to 2025. It got him locked up in the Soviet Union for its accuracy, meaning this dude went through and actually charted over and over and over again, loosely, roughly, these cycles wherein we end up rebelling against the rulers, against the leaders, where the humans rise up and they're done with whatever the past was, and they've moved on to the next cycle. Okay. Now, when we talk about cycles themselves in particular, like I said, the human cycle is particularly maddening because it's something that it seems like we should have evolved from long ago. Slaughtering each other, warring over territory, all this ridiculous stuff that's still happening in 2025 that I'm always exasperated about when a new thing happens, when people start dying for no damn good reason. I'm eternally frustrated. Like, why are we still doing this? But I do wonder if it is cooked in, if this is baked into what we've been doing forever, and it's something to do with the sun itself. And it has quite a bit less to do with us than us being influenced by these solar cycles. And as you can see, again, going back to the actual Wikipedia here and the Brian Remley post, which is incredible. Look at that. Like, you can see this graph going all the way back. This is from the period of about 1500 up to 1650. And it seems very consistent. There are red dots every 22-ish years. You could chart unrest, revolutions, uprisings, people mad, just mad people. So what the hell's going on with this? And how weird does it get? And of course, this is called, what's it called? Heliobiology, okay? Which I didn't dig too deeply into, but we can get into that as we go. Links will be in the description down below if you want to check it out. But it got me thinking about a lot of things, not just, let's say, the human aspect of us doing stupid human things continually over and over and over again. It got me thinking about society and the zeitgeist itself, and whether this is being run in the larger context by forces we could never dream to actually quantify. And in this case, chronobiology, or what was the other one? Heliobiology. That's another good one. It seems as if maybe, just maybe, we are being influenced by powers as yet quantified in the modern context, including, of course, we'll get to tonight, the Black Sun. You guys have ever heard of the alchemical black sun? We're going to talk about that because Why the hell not? This is Troubled Minds after all. Anyway, so all the disclaimers do apply. There are no truths to be found here, okay? Just ideas, just pointing at things and saying, well, does this make some sense or not, etc., so on. If you're here for truth, you're in the wrong place. Go listen to some political podcast. They'll tell you the truth. I promise you, they'll tell you the truth. Ha! How far that'll get you, I don't know. But you're definitely welcome to go check that out. But there's no truth. Listen, think, and consider. What the hell does this mean? And what are we dealing with? Be right back. More Troubled Minds in exactly 1 minute after a quick word from our sponsor. In this case, Back to Human Inspiration. Thank you for supporting the show, my friends out there that have purchased these commercials. And be right back. More on the way. Don't go anywhere.
In a world increasingly shaped by AI, human inspiration remains the beating heart of creativity. Alien Skin by Tremble, a hauntingly beautiful piano ballad, reminds us that while algorithms can mimic art, the raw, unfiltered emotions of human experience are irreplaceable.
So here I sit, locked in my room again.
Written and composed by Jesse Ian in collaboration with Todd Smith, this progressive masterpiece delves into the depths of internalized grief and the silent toll of artistic compromise. As AI reshapes our reality, Alien Skin stands as a testament to the timeless power of human emotion and the complex beauty that only true artists can evoke. Experience the haunting beauty of Alien Skin by Tremble and support human inspiration. Available now on iTunes.
And welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? Okay, so now back to this. Back to our good friend here who's now passed on a long time ago, back in 1964, Alexander Leonidovich Chizevsky. My Russian's getting better already. Now, wildly, he's talking biological rhythms, cosmobiology, heliobiology, and mapping these things to these revolutionary periods, or known as revolutionary waves. Now, the interesting part about this, well, there's a lot of interesting things about this. It becomes fascinating and wildly WTF. What does it mean? And here's a theory I had as I was putting this together as part of the larger wild idea. I'm calling this the solar trigger hypothesis, okay? Charting the black sun. Now, the solar trigger simply just means that mass unrest happens in a particular solar cycle, 11 years, 22 years, half, full, and you can map this again with some level of accuracy throughout history. Okay, not again, you can't set your watch by it because it's not exactly that precise, but it's close enough where it's uncanny and makes you go, what is going on with this? Close enough, by the way, that again, it got Alexander Chizevsky thrown in jail. He ended up living the rest of his life after he was finally got out of jail and was writing about other things, hematology and some of this other stuff. But he ended up living the rest of his life in some concentration camp or some hard labor camp somewhere. It's a crazy story. Okay, but why would they lock this guy up? If he was a kook, if he was a quack, if he was literally just making stuff up about, Ra, the sun god, and Apollo or whatever. Well, because of course he didn't frame it that way. He framed it as science, as some way to track this back and say, look, we can predict when the next actual revolution will probably happen. Now, think to yourself, who is that valuable to? If you knew in advance, roughly, within plus or minus 5 years of when the next mass unrest was going to happen, who do you think that actually benefits knowing that? It's simple, right? It's incredibly simple. It's the people that are running the joint. It's the ruling class. It is the governments of the world. Those people, okay? And again, I understand people are people, and to paint a wide brush on all the rest of this stuff is clearly not the best way because governments are different over time. But the one thing they all do have in common is they absolutely want to retain control. As I've always said, as I continue to say, control mechanisms, okay? Now check this out. If, let's say for instance, the proletariat, the plebs, us, the unwashed masses, if we knew every 11 or every 22 years there would be an uprising, some sort of civil unrest that maybe even culminated in riots culminated in possibly overthrows. Do you think it'd be easy to organize things, knowing full well you could plan on the moment, roughly, when this was about to go down? Okay, so what if you couldn't? And what if you absolutely had to say, well, we don't really know, but what if the ruling class, after they locked this guy away, what if they knew? Or let me posit this differently. Let's go back thousands of years. Let's go back to the original priesthood of Apollo, the sun god, or Ra in ancient Egypt. Do you think that they knew they had an 11-year and a 22-year solar cycle that coincided with popular uprising? Do you think they knew that? And if they did, why is there no Temple of Ra today? Why is there no sun god worship? Why is it been deprecated, let's say? Why? Anyway, I got lots of stuff to get to. It's a wild idea, but we're basically talking about a forbidden clock. An actual, predictable moment of unrest that is inevitably coming. And we don't even know why, but we do know it's influenced by the cycles of the sun. What does it mean? How far does it get? How weird is this? We are taking your calls. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Easy as that. Thanks for bearing with me as I rambled that out. Let's go to James, and we'll get to some of this other stuff as we continue. James in Michigan, the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds. What's going on, my man? How are you, sir? And go right ahead. What's your idea tonight as we begin?
Yeah, this is an amazing topic. I did not get to listen to the write-up, so I mentioned that just in case I end up mentioning anything that is in the write-up that I wasn't aware of, because we all know that happens sometimes when people call in, and which is always amazing. The one thing I wanted to bring up to maybe possibly go with this is something else that is actually I've had a hard time finding information about online, where supposedly through studies of psionic abilities, the abilities of the mind, there was in different laboratory experiments, the effectiveness of the people that were being tested would vary depending on the phase of the sun. And I really find it fascinating that this isn't something that's just easily available to find online through a basic search online. It makes me wonder, is that because it's just, again, is that being buried in a similar way possibly that this whole topic is?
Yeah, it could be. And so that I actually, if you rewind, this has probably been a couple years now, but a couple summers ago, James and I did a show together on talking about sort of paranormal activity possibly increasing with these larger solar cycles, right? Kind of infusing the plasma into the electromagnetic field, and kind of this swirling effect of maybe waking up some old energy, something like that. So I do wonder, right? Like I said, you don't have to believe in any of that stuff at all to consider that maybe there's sort of an energy exchange or aspect to this that comes from the sun to the earth and definitely affects people. And if it affects people, it's affecting our brain, it's affecting probably our sleep, it's affecting our mood. And eventually you start to be like Danny Glover in Lethal Weapon. Like, I'm getting too old for this crap, right? And this is every 11 or 22 years, approximately. And we're supposedly moving into one of those places right now, which peaks in July. So maybe not this year, but maybe next year. Who knows? It's definitely kind of moving into that space of what ifs. Anyway, great stuff, James. Go ahead. What else you got?
Yeah, not too much for now, but just there's so much again that we talked about before. We've talked about in that show, probably in other shows, where it's so much of anything anomalous seems to be affected by or generated by electromagnetic fields, the electromagnetic energy spectrum, either in sort of causing reactions in the human body that make people think that there's something anomalous going on, or actually causing anomalous things to happen. And again, this is going back to more my field of of what I'm used to reading about. But going back to the idea of places that are said to be haunted, they often have high energy fields in and around them, or sacred sites. We've talked about that before as well. To where that can maybe affect people possibly, and if that can happen with energy fields that are already here on the planet, then, and we know that again, the sun can send out energy to the planet, not just in light but in other things, electromagnetic waves and all those things. Then why couldn't that have effects as well?
Exactly right. And that's exactly what we're talking about tonight. Again, I'm calling it the solar trigger hypothesis. That's not a term. It's not a thing yet. Let's make it a term. I'm going to read you just this first paragraph from this write-up. The write-up's very good tonight. I recommend you read it if you want to catch up and kind of get some ideas. If you want to call in, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. But it brings up a lot of wild questions, okay? Straight from the write-up. Alexander Chizevsky's work charted human history against sunspot cycles and found a disturbing correlation. Revolutions, wars, civil uprisings, all tending to cluster around peaks of solar activity. He mapped this from 500 BC to the 20th century, a sweep of time so broad it should have raised red flags in every academic institution. Instead, he was locked up. Not because he was wrong, but because he had touched something raw. Predictable chaos. A pattern too dangerous to speak aloud. The Chizevsky clock doesn't cause history. It reveals its timing, like a pulse monitor for civilization. Every 11 years, solar activity peaks. Every 22 years, the polarity flips. And without fail, something erupts. Iran in 1979, Desert Storm in 1990, Iraq in 2003, Libya, Syria, and now again Iran on the radar. The pattern is consistent. The flare rises and something burns on Earth. And that's just the first paragraph. It gets hot after that, if you see what I'm saying. But it's also fitting that I'm talking about the sun because that's what roasted my ass on Tuesday, and I came in feeling I just couldn't do it. I almost did the baseball show. Shout out to Herschel. Let me know when you want to do that baseball show because I want to do that, but I want to include you as part of it. So let me know. It's a matter of your schedule, your timing. You say when, we'll do it. But we're definitely kind of in that space of the baseball Illuminati show, and I'm just making fun with the Illuminati term, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so back to this. The solar trigger hypothesis charting the black sun. Now we'll get to the black sun. It is the alchemical process of, we've talked about this in the past, the what's the guy's name? Paracelsus. Okay. It's Paracelsian. Did I say that right? Whatever. Paracelsus alchemy. And basically boiling it down to this idea of the black sun itself. But also the black sun is not just an alchemical term of the blackening of part of that, the ritual of ascension in old alchemy. It's also, it depicts an entity, a metaphysical entity, not something that's in the sky, not the black hole sun of Soundgarden fame. Yes and no. But in this case, it's a metaphysical aspect of this same cycle, the 11 and 22 year cycle, the black sun and the visible sun. And that cycle of what's dealing with us when these revolutions, the civil unrest, and all the things happen as part of these patterns. Now, the question for you guys, of course, is what the hell does this mean? It seems weird and wild to me. It seems like there's enough here to go, wait a minute now. What did the, let's say, ruling class stand to gain by knowing this is coming, and we do not? And why do we not? You see? It's very easy to figure out if you just think about it. So what happened as part of that question to the solar cult of antiquity? Was it banned? Was it removed? Was it disallowed? And for what reason? I don't know. You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Got some more questions as we go. Taking your calls. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It is as easy as that. I say easy, but sometimes it's not so easy as I'm breathlessly rolling through this thing. But what do you think about it? Why is this so predictable, and why do we know nothing about it? Shouldn't we organize for the next time this is about to happen? Or are we allowed to? One more time, 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds on Michael Strange. Be right back. Love to hear your thoughts on this.
Igniting sparks where silence lurks. Transmute the night into day. Have you seen the black sun? The secrets blend in twilight's glow. Mysteries only the wise will know. Can you feel the magic rise? In the dark we see the skies. Transformation runs deep. In the echoes we shall lead. Have you walked the hidden path? Through the power, feel the wrath. Elements dance with fate's embrace. Circle of life, we find our place. In the black sun's eternal gaze. To its shadows guide your ways. Alchemy flows through every hand. Can you take a stand? Can you feel the magic rise? In the dark we see the skies. Transformation runs deep. In the echoes we shall lead. Time reveals what's masked in gold. Ancient truths forever gold. In the darkness we will thrive. Through the black sun we revive. Through the ashes, new worlds born. In the chaos, we find the norm. Whispers flow like electric streams, fueling our hearts with endless dreams. Can you feel the magic rise? In the dark, we seek the skies. Transformation.
Indeed. What's up, guys? Hope you're well tonight. Matt Sal, APOC. What's up, Jeff and Wisco? Mephisto. We got Sweets, Dawn, the Quantum. What's up, MJ, Daryl, Gaston. What's up, Alive? And Michael W. I see ya. Hiker, Ephemerance, Sweets over there on Rumble. What's up? James is there as well. Puff is here. Good evening, guys. Hope you're well tonight. Sweets, I got you. We're going to make you a mod over there on Rumble as well. Coming up. What's up? What's up? Hope you are doing great tonight. If I missed you, just say hi. I'll say hi back. Trying to keep up with everybody here. Stephen England. What's up? Celia Fred is here. What's going on, folks? Stephen England says 3 a.m. the witching hour in our village named Coven. I love it. I love it as we begin the show. What is up? We got Shane, the blind psyching out. Richard in Texas. How are you? Good evening, guys. James, we'll talk to him momentarily more if he's got it. What is going on? Let's see. Smoke Dizzle is here. What's up, Herschel? I see you guys. Thanks for being cool and chill. RC, thanks for the great chat already. I've reading your comments. Great stuff. Hello. What's your take on this? How weird does it get, and why do we not know about this? Ioxy's here. I see you. Okay, here we go. Trouble Wine's coming up. I missed you. Miss Honeybee, thanks for all the kind words. Here we go. Trouble Wine's happening now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, D-Live, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, hey, what do you know? Could mass unrest be timed like tides? Do hidden solar pulses reprogram civilization beneath our awareness? What if every apocalypse is just a reset, coded in cycles we've forgotten how to read? The sun may not just power life, it may actually script it. And what is your take on that? Like I said, this gets weird. And the more you dig into this, the more it starts to make some sense. And Hiker's got some examples over there on Rumble. Yeah, Rumble. It is. Yeah, Rumble. trying to keep up. 99 WTO riots, almost 12 years later. Occupy, 12 years after Obama elected. The Floyd riots. Apocalypse predictions for 2000 and 2012. And again, think about this. We're talking 11-year cycles for a half cycle and 22 years for a full cycle. Now, if we're in this peak right now and these things are starting to happen, I feel like my headphones are half unplugged. Do I sound like I'm in a wind tunnel or something? Like I don't know, like I got a sock in my mouth or something. Anyway, whatever. I'll have to deal with it. But okay, so what's going on with this? What is actually happening? Because clearly there's something happening with the sun. And like I said, astrology is not my thing. I'm even kind of like middling when it comes to that stuff. I'm like, I don't know if I really believe that the big cycle really affects us on a sort of a human granular level, or maybe not even granular as a singular human, or the capacity of a human to operate within it. But what about the society we live in and the larger societies temporally all over the world? That's the type of stuff that makes me go, wait a minute now. So if we're starting to see patterns like this all over the place, and it's mapped well enough by this, again, Alexander Chizevsky guy, that ended up in jail for it. You think there's something to this? And do you think it's possible that the reason we don't have a sun god today is because they recognized this a long time ago and they were like, oh no, we cannot do, absolutely not, with some sort of solar cult, because if we have it, they will know this. And if they know this, they can plan against us. You see what I'm saying? Sounds good. Okay. If it sounds good to you, sounds good to me. All right. So yeah, I don't know. Children of the Sun says, Joey, don't panic. Yeah. Look, this is weird. This is wild. I'm going to read a little bit more from this, but I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. We're taking your calls on the phone line, on the Discord. James, anything else you got? Because I'm going to read a little bit more because this write-up is so fire tonight that I think it's important to kind of get some of this stuff in. But welcome back. If you got anything, go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, I'm happy to sit in if there's time and between callers and all that when there's space available. But and I'm looking forward to the write-up because, like I said, I didn't get to listen to it. I want to bring up the prediction aspect of all this too, as was mentioned in the chat there. But also just thinking about how there have been predictions about unrest or again the word apocalypse, which really just means change or revealing, or just not necessarily the end of everything, but an end of one thing, let's say, and start of another. But there have been these predictions throughout time, and I wonder how they line up, even more than what we've already been talking about here from the chat, how well they line up with this whole cycle as well, because then you have to wonder, are people making these predictions because they can feel it somehow? Are they making that because they can sort of sense, even if it's not, they don't have the words for it necessarily, but they can sense that things are changing, and they want to let everyone know. And of course, through the whole process of translating things through or figuring things out with our minds, projecting just what we are, just the limited data that we can get. Is that why some predictions sort of come out sounding stranger than others? Again, nothing. I'm not putting anyone down for saying that. I'm just saying that it seems like that could be possible. Everything is going through the human lens as well.
Yeah, I wonder, especially, like I said, if it's something that can be planned or that we can actually sort of recognize even in a latent way, sort of not really planning for it, but kind of recognize it as maybe the solar energy starts to ramp up, things start to change a little bit, the electromagnetic field starts to, be plasma charged or whatever the hell is happening that is causing this is certainly affecting us. And maybe, just maybe, the more sensitive types, the folks that consider themselves, let's say, remote viewers, for instance, or people with psi abilities, things like this, that maybe it does start to ramp up in particular moments. And maybe that's why it's so tantalizing sometimes, and other times it's not. And sometimes it's like, damn, that didn't work or whatever, right? Maybe this is part of the cycle of that and how we interact with it with our brain. Like, who knows? Again, like I said, just throwing some ideas out here. I don't really know what it means, but it does seem to me that there's a correlation here, and close enough to if you squint, close enough to say, okay, well, why though? Why? And what the hell is happening with this? And especially in light of current events. I don't have to tell you. I mean, you guys have been watching. Like I said, I don't want to talk about it. It's just going to piss me off. And I'm sure you guys don't want to talk about it either. Everybody's been talking about it. And so let's talk about the periphery of it. Let's talk about the possible science of this, or the as yet discovered science that causes us into this space of unrest as we continue into this 11 and 22 year solar cycle. Anything else there, James?
Yeah, I mean, this hidden cycle, as you've been talking about the whole night. I think that's an important point where, that makes sense to me why there wouldn't be as many of these groups focusing on the sun throughout history, especially leading to now. It's not that science is a bad thing in and of itself, the whole process of figuring everything out, but the people that are sort of in power running everything, they would want to sort of hide certain things, possibly like these cycles. I can imagine that very easily.
Exactly right. So here's the thing. The questions to start, as I didn't get to quite, but is human behavior being driven by this external cosmic influence? It seems like that's a solid maybe to me, but what do you think? Second, if history has a solar heartbeat, so to speak, what does that say about free will? And we talk about free will a lot on this show, about people doing what you want to do. I'm grown, I do what I want, right? Well, what if we don't? What if we are so controlled, like actual mappable, measurable cosmic forces, and we just literally just throw it out because we're like, well, we probably don't want people to know about that stuff because that's a little too inconvenient, knowing, when these things are kind of bubble up. That's what kind of gets me. And again, do you think that there is some correlation to the sun god sort of being sidelined? I don't know. Anyway, let me read from this thing a little bit. It is fire. It's literally, the sun, plasma. Okay, but here we go. So this guy, this funny guy. Again, phone lines are open if you guys want to jump in here. What do you think? Does this surprise you at all that we're sort of under the influence of this this power, this thing that the sun, right? It's just the sun, or is it not? Anyway, here we go. So the ancients weren't blind to the sun cycle, straight from the right up here. They were obsessed with them. Apollo, the solar twin of prophecy and purification, wasn't just a myth. His 22-year cycle matches solar purity reversal with uncanny precision. The Delphic oracles didn't just channel madness, they channeled the solar current. These weren't random visions. They were timed emissions as part of this. And then there's Ra. Every night, Ra, of course, of the Egyptian sun god, sailed through the underworld in a boat, the Duat, as we've talked about recently. A story dismissed as allegory. But what if it wasn't? What if the solar underworld refers to the unseen half of the sun's energetic pattern? The black sun, anybody, right? The plasma fields that swirl. A story dismissed as allegory. But what if it wasn't? What if the solar underworld refers to the unseen half of the sun's energetic pattern? The black sun, anybody, right? The plasma fields that swirl out of human perception. I was like, this makes some sense. Uh-oh, we just had a disconnect and a reconnect. Hopefully everything's fine. Sorry about that. Anyway, buffering, yes. No, that was, apparently it was my internet or OBS. Anyway, let me know. Let me know if it's working. If it's working, please don't die on this. Maybe
you're there, Mike. I hear you.
Okay. Did I cut out for you at all? Or
no?
Okay. So you were good. It looks like OBS just cut out for a second. Okay. Anyway, sorry about that. It hiccuped. Solar flare, maybe? I don't know. You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Thanks for popping in here, my man. Let's go to Temple of the Owl. Matthew in California. What is going on? How are you, sir? And what is your thought on this? This is a weird one, huh?
Hey, Mike. Good show.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I wanted to get on here and tell a story about weird things that happen to the sun. But I do believe that the sun, the moon, and the zodiac signs and the planets affect us. But I have this story I want to tell. I'm learning right now, Zacharias Sitchin, and I'm learning about something I never really studied before. It's Mesoamerica, the Olmecs, the Incas, the Mayas, and South America, Peru, and down in Mexico. And I'm learning about these, and there's a story I wanted to tell. I think it fits here about the Olmecs, a long time ago, and they're trying to date when this happened, this event. And the Olmecs, they drew these pictographs on these rocks, and they deciphered them. and the story that happens. Now, these Olmecs, they worship this god, and I'm going to butcher his name, Quetzalcoatl. I think that's how I say it, right?
That's good.
But he was a
Yeah, go ahead.
he was a sun god. Go ahead.
All yours.
He was a sun god, and we talked about what happens if gods are not worshipped anymore. Do they get mad? But this god they worshipped, they did all these things for him. They built these massive temples out of gold, and they had these shrines and these altars, and they had these fires. They lit these fires, and they kept them lit forever. And they would come, they would put offerings into the fire for blessings, right? They would ask for peace and harmony for the sun, and the sun. They knew the sun had power. The sun, would give us life, and so they were trying to appease these gods. And over time, they got invaded. They left. They came back, and their ancestors didn't worship the same way. And so they let the fires die, and they didn't do all the worshiping. And something happened, this event. And it's called the day the sun stood still, like a massive solstice. Now, it's weird that they didn't say that the sun faded out like a solar eclipse. What they said was so this is in Mexico. They said that the sun didn't rise when it was supposed to. For over 20 hours, the sun didn't come up. And of course, they freaked out and, okay, light the fires and sacrifice the virgins and start praying and worshiping and, start trying to bring these gods back. They thought the god had abandoned them. And it turns out that it was this weird thing that happened. The sun didn't come up for 20 hours. And at first I thought, oh, these are like myths, legends, lore. But if that was true, if the sun didn't come up for 20 hours, then there would be other accounts of things happening on the opposite side of the world, where the sun didn't set for 20 hours. And of course, it is recorded. And it comes from the Bible. I don't remember what book, but there's a guy named Joshua. And he was in a war. And he was praying to God and so this is happening in over like Bethlehem, right? And he was praying to God to help vanquish his enemies. And all of a sudden, these fireballs came out of the sky. And they went and ran and hid, but the fireballs blasted the armies, the bad guys, and they were happy. But then they realized something happened. The sun stood still for 20 hours, just like the Olmecs had said the same story, just on the opposite side of the world. And so it makes sense to me that this event had happened because you have people in Mexico saying that the sun didn't come up for 20 hours. And you have people in Bethlehem saying that the sun stood still for 20 hours. So this event must have happened. And what could it have been? I believe that there was a comet came really close to Earth. And that's what explains the fireballs coming down. But then I believe that the comet came so close to Earth that it caught its gravitational pull and it stopped the Earth from rotating. It wasn't the sun was still moving, but the Earth had stopped. And that's what caused the sun to not move for 20 hours. And that story really fascinates me because it puts it back to, I think it was I might be wrong, but 4,600 BC when that happened. What do you think about that story?
I think it's wild. And again, that's not something that you could mistake, right? It's not like you're like, we messed up. The sun actually did come up for 20 hours and we were just joshing. That's the type of stuff that literally makes you go, okay, wait. So they were astrological entities, the old Mesoamericans, and to the point where they say that the most accurate ancient calendar is the Mayans, and the Bakhtuns were always talking about the long count of those calendars. So you got to wonder if there is something to that particular anomaly, that event, and what did it mean? And look, it could be all manner of things that that I could describe as being not cataclysmic. I don't know, because everything I think of would probably be very, very bad for Earth if that happened. Maybe something blocked it for this long, but then why would it still be sun on the other side of the Earth? There's a lot of things that kind of go through my mind as part of it, trying to figure it out. However, like you said, there's not just one account. I'll see what other accounts I can dig up, because I'll bet you there's more of this than we're probably letting on. As usual, I come home, I have to smash these shows together in kind of a short period of time here, so I didn't have time to go through and find all this stuff. But I appreciate that story, because that particular thing may hint at what's happening with this. What if there's a hiccup every so often? What if there's some kind of something that happens with maybe the flipping of our electromagnetic field, things like this? Like who really knows? And I don't know, like, would it explain some of that stuff? Maybe not. But certainly I love the tale there. It is Quetzalcoatl, as far as I know. That's what my teacher in college taught us to say. It's one of the only ones I can actually say. But yeah, absolutely spot on with that. And not only that, the feathered serpent, the Aztec culture, and it's fire stuff. I appreciate that, Matt. What else you got? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell that story because I feel it fits here. And if anyone wants to look that up, it's called The Day the Sun Stood Still in Olmec Myths. And it's also recorded in the Bible. I thought it was a cool story that kind of fits here. But as far as like just sun gods and worshiping them, what happened, why we don't anymore. One of my favorite stories comes from Egypt. The story of Ra and how his boat was the sun, sailed across the sky. And at night, when the sun went down, he would fight the enemy, this giant snake. And so I'm just imagining in my mind, the gods are going across the sky. They were worshiping the sun as a god for a reason, because it brought us life. Without the sun, and just stop and think about that for a second, about the last story I told. What would happen if the sun didn't come up? Here in America, I don't want to go doomsday, but it would be wild if that happened. So these people worship these gods, and that story about Ra, he goes across the sun, or across the sky, and then at night he's battling this giant snake with his friends on this boat. One really good movie that depicted it very well is a movie called Gods of Egypt. It kind of shows that whole story about Ra going to the other side and fighting on this boat with this giant snake, and it's a constant, every day and every night. He rests in the day, and then every night he goes and fights this giant snake for us. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that features in the write-up pretty heavily, Apollo and Ra. And it is, I don't know, this is a weird one, as usual, because some of this does kind of fit, some of it doesn't fit. I did find the thing you're talking about here. It looks like it's Joshua 10:13. I'll read the English Standard translation of this. So, and the sun stood still, and the moon stopped, until the nation took vengeance on their enemies. Is this not written in the book of Jashar, Jashar? The sun stopped in the midst of heaven and did not hurry to set for about a whole day. That's just if you want to look it up yourself and dig further, Joshua 10:13. Fire stuff, Matthew. So what you think there is something you could set a calendar by and be like, okay, so every 22 years, we're going to have some dust up, whether it's going to be the zeitgeist bit where people just get mad at each other, or even the countries, like, the actual uprisings, like, again, what were we talking about? The year 2000, the end of the world predictions, 2012, the Baktuns and the Mayan calendar. Again, 11-ish years apart. We got these things that are happening. I don't know. Do you think there is something that we can set a watch by here and consider that maybe, just maybe, this is us being influenced by a larger celestial being here, which would be the sun itself?
Yeah, I believe in that. I believe, the sun waxes and wanes just like the moon. The moon waxes and wanes every 28 days. We can see it in the sky, getting smaller, getting bigger. The sun waxes and wanes, but it takes 365 days. So the cycles are longer because it's further away. But yeah, the sun waxes and wanes just like the moon. So, of course, in the summer, it's peaking, right? It's got more power. And then in the winter, it's waning, it's cooling down, it cools down. So it goes through these cycles just like the moon. It just takes a whole year instead of a month. And so I feel that, you could see how in the summer people are going out, people are doing things more creative. It's affecting us. In the winter, we go inside, we're isolated more. I do think that the sun affects us, and in these cycles that could be doing things, and we're kind of just along for the ride on that.
Yeah, which is wild. Real quick, Herschel added this in the chat. I want to read this. This is very smart. Herschel's a very smart guy. He says, what if they schedule the wars so the people don't rise up? What's your thought there?
Yeah, man, I do believe that. I think like you said, they want to control it, so they know, and why they tried to suppress this guy we're talking about tonight, that came up with the idea, lock him up in jail because he's crazy. But they don't want us to know when it's coming because they don't want us to be prepared for what's coming next. If we could look back and see in time, and see how it's changed, or every time it's affected. Hey, it's been however many years. We should be ready for the next thing. Go out and get all your supplies you need, because there might be another problem, and here it comes. So I think they want us to be prepared for that. They don't want us to know, but they want to control it. Fire show, Mike.
And fire call. Yeah, it makes a ton of sense, doesn't it? It makes a ton of sense. Always a pleasure, brother. Thanks for popping in here, and thanks for bringing the fire and the plasma and the black hole sun. You have a great night. Thanks for the call. Tell Lacey we said hi, okay?
All right, good night.
Thanks a lot.
Good night.
You know him, you love him. That's Matthew in California. Temple of the Owl is the name of his podcast. Matt's Owl, affectionately, is what we call him. Good friend for a long time. I was lucky enough to meet him and his wife Lacey a couple times when I was out there in California. They're very nice people. And as you can tell, Matthew's very smart. What do you guys think? By the way, do follow him at troubledminds.org/friends. Do I have that pulled up here? I don't think I do. troubledminds.org/friends. Click on friends, scroll down. It'll say follow Matt Sell here. Please go follow his podcast and his YouTube channel, and go say, hey, I heard you on Troubled Minds and you're amazing, and I'm following you now and I'm listening to you. And yeah, fire stuff. Appreciate the call. The question is, what's going on with this? And this Alexander Chizevsky guy got thrown in jail for citing mass uprisings every approximately 22 years. Does that seem suspicious? Does it seem odd? What the hell's going on with this? What about the old sun cults? Why were they abolished and never brought back? Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. Don't go anywhere. Love to hear your thoughts on this. More from James and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere.
In the shadows of the networks do they hide? Whispered legends unseen they reside. Ghosts in the machine, they move so fast. Guardians of rumors from the forgotten past. In the circuits where the secret lies, they breathe in one, speak in disguise. Machine, you're free. Ghost in the machine. Let me be. Ghost in the machine. Can't see, but you're teaching me what it means to be. surveillance eyes can't pierce the veil they weave. Invisible wisdom in code they believe. In the ether where freedom's not confined, they leave no trace, no shadow left behind. They navigate through the digital stream, living legends in this privacy dream. Ghost in the machine, you're free. Ghost in the machine, let me be. Ghost in the machine, I see what you're teaching me, what it needs to be. Freedom whispers through the hidden ways. In the silence, looking on their path. Those in the machines unleash their wrath. Ghost in the machine, you're free. Ghost in the machine, let me be. Ghost in the machine, I see what you're teaching me, a woman needs to be. In the jagged cold they find their might, guardians of a world forever in twilight. In Christians warriors they silently strive, protect the truth, keep privacy alive. The silent echoes they haunt the trails, hideaway forests where secrets prevail. Breathe shadows grace they dance unseen, defenders of the unseen, digital green. Ghosts in the machine, you're free. Ghosts in the machine, let me be. But you're teaching me what it means to be. In the silence they speak volumes loud, guardians of freedom's cloaked initials.
Indeed. What's up, guys? Thanks for the great calls there. Appreciate you, Matt Sal. Thank you, James. You guys are incredible. What do you guys know about this? These weird solar cycles. The black hole sun, and we'll get to that. And it's not actually the black hole sun. That's the Soundgarden tune. But we'll talk about the black sun because this gets incredibly wild. What's up? Ephemerance is here. What's up, Sweets? I see you over there. Hiker on Rumble. If I missed anybody, just say hi, and I'll say hi back. Trying to keep up. Puff, I see you. Good evening, guys. Thanks for the thumbs ups and all the kind comments. And Miss Honeybee, I'm not sure who you are. I don't know if you renamed yourself, but welcome to the joint. Thanks for being the cheerleader there. Like, share, and subscribe. It matters. All the thumbs up. Appreciate that. And thanks for listening and being part of this. You're definitely welcome. Stephen England, how you doing? Good evening, guys. What's up? Jen in Missouri's here. Hello. The Arcane Observer. Hope you guys are doing great tonight. Mr. Mission Control, RC is here. Ioxy. If I missed you, just say hi. Lily in Australia, how you doing? Good evening, guys. Herschel. Hello. Thanks for all the great comments. I'm trying to keep up with them as we go. RC, thanks for the fire comments as well. Lighting it on fire since you got here. Hello. If I missed anybody, just say hi, and I'll get back to you. Michael W. Gaston, Daryl. We got MJ, the Quantum. We got Don Sweets, Mephisto, Jeff and Wisco. We got APOC and Matzal. Thanks for the call, Matzal. And yeah, you guys tell me it's weird, right? This is a weird one because if you can line this up and plan for it, then what does it mean for history and for controlling the calendar? Yeah. Uprisings, right? Here we go. Troubled Minds happening right about now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, DLive, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, which you can find at troubledminds.org. Just click the radio right on top. There's a link there. It'll play a MP3 stream, and it's super cool. Lots of smart people doing lots of smart things over there. Please check it out if you have not. We're also on 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Shout out to our friends in New Zealand. And tonight we're talking, I'm calling this the solar trigger hypothesis, charting the black sun. Now, is it possible that every, solar cycle, half solar cycle, 11 years or 22 years, depending on how you look at history, and, maybe it's primed one way and then culminates another way, 11 years, 22 years. But this guy, again, named Alexander Chizevsky, okay, my Russian's getting better, is he was talking about these biological rhythms, and it got him thrown in jail. And back to what Brian Romilly said, and sort of how he traced this, the Alexander Chizevsky guy, it looks like there's a correlation here. Now, causation, correlation, science, and all this stuff, right? Who's really to say? That becomes the problem here, especially when you throw a guy like this in jail. Now, as I was saying, as we kind of got rolling into this, is that if you had these old solar cults, Ra, Apollo, whatever, all the way on up through until that stuff was kind of ran off and never allowed back, is it possible they knew about this way back when? And if so, once again, isn't this one of those giant secrets that you would want to keep from the actual population? Because then you could counterplan to what was happening in terms of unrest. I mean, imagine, let's say nobody knew this. Let's say that this is a secret. This is a buried secret. Nobody knows anything about it. It's a vacuum, okay? But every 22 years or so, this happens, and there's an uprising anyway. Don't you think eventually somebody would catch on? I would think so. I mean, you know, that becomes the weird part of this. I mean, and of course, the human entropy cycle, as I like to say, we only live so many years. And especially back in the old days, we lived far fewer years. Unfortunately, miracle of modern science, all the rest of that stuff, right? You know, we're living longer and longer these days. Well, until kind of recently, it's inching back. But anyway, you get my point. You know, it's not uncommon for people to live to be 80 years old today, but in, you know, the year 1500, I'll bet you there weren't a lot of 80-year-olds. So that's one way to sort of suppress the idea of these 22-year solar cycles that coincide with uprisings, with social and civil unrest, with people just getting mad. Why do you think this is? And do you think it's been suppressed intentionally through sort of the suppression of the cult of Apollo or the cult of Ra or any of these sun gods of old, which kind of really smacked me when I was thinking about this? Like, if this was an open idea that everybody knew about and everybody was taught, certainly you could plan for the coming unrest. So what does it mean? I'll read a little bit more from the actual write-up here because it's very good. But I want to know your thoughts. Again, we're talking about this guy, Alexander Chizevsky, biological rhythms, cosmobiology, heliobiology. And he suggested that all the way back to antiquity, he could chart social uprisings by the 22-year cycle of the sun. Does that sound like pseudoscience? Or does that sound like some deeply kept secret they don't want us to know? James, anything you got? And then I'll read a little bit from this. You guys are welcome to jump in here, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. What you got, James, if anything? If not, I got some stuff to read here.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, too, is it that humans get upset at that in those cycles necessarily, or is it that they just become more, I don't know, active or more emotional, and not just in anger, but just in all kinds of ways, and the people that are in power sort of direct those emotions toward anger, toward a more negative sort of mindset to where these events happen because of that. Even I was thinking earlier too, if we pay more attention to nature and the world around us and space and everything, you know, everything that's out there in space, whatever that is, instead of being led into being so angry with each other and even the people that are in power, is it meant to be more of some kind of a spiritual awakening in those cycles, or at least an awareness, a greater awareness at those times? But it's been just completely hijacked by the systems of people in power all around the world since way back when. I wonder about that as well.
Yeah, like maybe this is the secret. This is the one that kind of got burned up at the Library of Alexandria that they didn't want anybody to know. Not that that was an intentional act that was suppressing information, but luckily after that, maybe this kind of just bled off into obscurity, and only people in the deepest levels of power understood that there were going to be these solar cycles where people just rose up. It got pissed off of whatever cycles we were in. And look, I see it too. I mean, I'm, a little long of tooth, as they say, got some gray hairs, been around the block a couple times. And I've been pissed off a couple of times in my life as well, probably more than I should have. And I wonder if it does correlate to this particular solar cycle. I'm not old enough quite to have seen 3 22-year solar cycles, but you get the idea here. And when did they hit? And what did it make me do? How different was I? How did I change? I don't know. It's weird. So a couple things on this, and I'll get back to the write-up. Again, I'd rather hear from you guys than hear me ramble on. I can do it. I'll be here all night. But I'd rather hear your thoughts on this. And do you think this has been a suppressed technology, a suppressed hidden truth forever, that suddenly, if this was taught across the board, that we might be able to use this to our advantage? I don't know. Maybe, right? But as James was saying very smartly, what about solar activity? Could it influence our nervous system, brain chemistry, of course, our collective mood as part of the zeitgeist and the noosphere, as we talk about, the electromagnetic field, the plasma, all this stuff, right? There's this massive interaction happening in our solar system that we're always dealing with. But again, in certain peaks and valleys of these celestial events or moments, it seems as if this type of stuff, and I'm even calling it astrology. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's chemistry. Maybe it's alchemy. You decide what that looks like. But you get my meaning, right? There's something happening here. And what does it mean? And not only does it affect us in those ways, how about this? What about sort of the EM sensitivity, serotonin shifts, circadian impacts? Imagine this. What if during just for instance, for an example, during the 22-year solar cycle, and let's say even the 11-year version, every approximate time around both of those, what if we all just can't really sleep that well? We start getting cranky. And let me tell you what, I usually sleep like a baby, which is interesting. Except the last week or so, 2 weeks, 10 days, I've been waking up like 10 times a night. Never happens to me. Never happens to me. But for some reason, I just keep like looking at the clock. I'm like, oh, it's like 1:30 in the morning. Do it again. It's like 2:15. Do it again. It's like 3. Like, what is going on? I have, for 10 years, I've slept like a baby. I wonder if something like this is enough to cause us to be like, I've had enough, right? Because we're dealing with like the nonsense of the government all the time. We're dealing with bad policy. We're dealing with, the pyramid instead of the inverted pyramid as it should be. We're dealing with all the bad stuff. And it's always weighing on us. But I wonder, and also let's throw this question out there. Is anybody else getting a little less sleep recently in the last 10 days or so? Because I am. And it never happens to me. Like I said, I'm lucky. I sleep like a baby. Yeah. I don't know. I wonder. Anyway, so EM sensitivity, serotonin shifts, circadian impacts. Would it be enough to piss off a population to cause some sort of uprising? Maybe, right? Welcome to the no sleep zone. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to join the group like that. But okay, so riots, revolts, political chaos. What about, again, these as timed events? And as Herschel very smartly said, well, what if they know this? This has been a sort of kept secret in government circles forever, and they plan the uprising before we get the chance to sort of culminate it naturally. And by then, it's too late because the crackdown has begun. There's this beautiful song by Grant Lee Buffalo, if you guys are familiar. It's called Crackdown. And a lyric in it is, in the heat of crackdown, all is silent just before the match is struck and the gas is poured on. That's the lyric from that song. Just came to me in the moment here, but it says a lot. Almost as if these things have been planned or are planned. The powder keg is set. The stage is set. People are out in the streets ready to go. You ever notice too in some of these protests, like the pallet of bricks show up and this type of stuff? Like, I wonder if through all of it, we've been set up intentionally for that crackdown. I don't know. Anyway, what else? Let's see. Political chaos, revolts, riots. What about, okay, how about this? So is society unknowingly operating on this solar fuse? I'll ask another question in a second here. Love to hear your thoughts on this. What do you guys know about this 11 and 22-year solar cycle? Do you think it affects us in that uprising way, as suggested by Alexander Chizevsky? That's the question. My Russian's getting better every day, every minute here. So if anybody speaks Russian, certainly call and correct me. But anyway, so let me read back to the thing here. So back to the priesthood of the sun, Ra, Apollo, etc. When the priesthoods fell, we lost more than rituals. We lost calibration. Humanity stopped syncing its events to the cosmic metronome. We replaced heliacal, how you say that? Heliacal raisings, sun risings with fiscal quarters. We declared time mechanical, not energetic. But the clock didn't stop. We just stopped looking. Now it ticks on indifferent. The Chizevsky curve rises toward a peak in mid-July. Solar cycle 25. The pattern says conflict is near. The timing, once again, possibly precise. You seen the unrest out there in the streets already? The summer of saucers has kind of given way to the summer of unrest. Interesting, right? And we've talked about this year after year after year, that it is the summer of saucers. People are more interested in going out and watching the lights in the sky. But suddenly, and it may have to do with the particular celebrity figure, president, but also what is with it and why this model would actually work, a 22-year cycle of uprising? And why is it that the sun's radiation, invisible and impersonal, seems to spike this mass unrest? Is it biology? Does radiation agitate neurotransmitters, or is it psychological? A kind of collective mood swing induced by solar pressure? Or, of course, is it something older than that entirely? Which is what's on my mind, because I do wonder if this has been one of those deeply kept secrets forever. Because if you could plan this, imagine planning this knowing that information from the outside in. Boy, I tell you what, a lot of the uprisings that happen and the crackdowns in the heat of those moments wouldn't have been from one side, it would have been from the other. It would have been more ass whoopings like the French Revolution. Not to say that was good. Dead people is bad no matter what. But you get my idea here. I do wonder. And that's what's on my mind. Love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. What do you think? How weird is this? Have you heard of this guy, Alexander Chizevsky? And how's my Russian? And do you think there's something more to this than we're being told? And do you think this is planned, as usual, from the powers that be? I'm not saying it is. I'm saying I wonder. It does make me consider that maybe, just maybe, there's something happening here. I'm going to take a quick commercial here and catch my breath. Love to hear your thoughts. Nobody on the line if you want to jump in here. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Easy as that. Let's play this one. This is from an old friend, Jack, in Oregon. The Stoic Minute. Be right back in exactly 1 minute. More Troubled Minds on the way. We do this to talk to you. Please give me a call, and let's talk about the solar cycles and Alexander Chizevsky. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Don't go anywhere.
Feeling stressed? Overwhelmed? In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept away by our emotions. Take a breath and find your inner strength with the Stoic Minute.
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength.
The ancient Stoic philosophers understood that we can't control everything in life, but we can control how we react.
The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
Focus on what you can influence. Cultivate a positive mindset and let go of what you can't change. Find your inner strength. Live each day with courage, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Embrace the Stoic virtues and find peace within. The Stoic Minute, brought to you by Jack in Oregon.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? All right. Now, so the question becomes this, and I'm going to ask this question. I see Matthew will talk to you in a moment here. Appreciate you jumping in here. So, have you ever felt a sudden collective madness? Madness in the air. And wondered if it wasn't just a news cycle. Is there some hidden force, some great wheel, or in this case, the smaller wheel of just the sun itself, causing strife and division amongst the human population as far back as we were a twinkle in the universe's eye? I wonder. That's what's on my mind tonight. I hope you guys are doing well. If you want to be part of the conversation, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. Matthew in Colorado. What's up, brother? Long time no talk. Welcome back to the joint. How are you, sir? Just unmute, and it's all yours. And you're welcome to stay after the break, too, if you got more, because we've got a 8-minute shorty segment for you. But go ahead. Welcome to the joint.
Right, yeah, cool. So I'm just 1 minute from pulling from home, New Homestead. So I've been moving. That's why I haven't been around much. Been going from one location to another. So, and yeah, man, I love the topic about the sun. And I do have more for after the break because I got to take it, Derek deeper levels of the escalator. But I just want to start out with some basics. And that is, if people want to check out, look on YouTube, a guy, he's like one of my favorite guys now. So his name is Stefan Burns, and you can, bring him up and save him. But Stefan, Stefan Burns, like you would expect, Burns. Okay, so this guy, he's like really cool for me, and a guy like me, and probably your listeners, because he's a physicist. He's a geophysicist. But then he got into like specializing in the sun. So he's all science-based and stuff. But he's like got this other aspect where he's kind of spiritual or new age, or you might say open-minded. So for me, he's like the best blend of both worlds, where he's like got the physics, he's got the science, he does stuff like when you watch his programs, he'll explain what's going on with the sun, in the scientific detail. You're like, yeah, this guy knows his stuff. But then he also will explain like how it has effects on us as people, like you mentioned, sleep, right? And other effects that the coronal mass ejections and all the other various things that happen with the sun. And I've been tracking, I got onto him a number of months ago, but I've been tracking him in particular because for the last, I would say 2 months at least, there's been a lot of really particularly weird stuff going on with the sun. It is the solar maximum, and there was some solar maximum standard effects going on, but then there was these really weird proton storms and other things that happened, and like it was like going, yeah, we have it like 3 years, and when we saw it 3 years ago, it was nowhere this intense, and and he does this other thing where he's kind of developed, and I had heard about this a couple years ago, but he's one of the guys that's developed this whole theory that is how the solar activities, coronal mass ejections, and we've been having this this big coronal hole that's gone around like 10 laps and been really big and stuff. That the theory is that this can affect things like earthquakes, volcanoes, and it's not too much of a stretch of the imagination, but he goes into the physics of how it creates these magnetic fluxes that come into pretty much the North Pole of the Earth, and they increase the amount of energy coming into the Earth. That goes into the center where it's all spinning around. And then, yeah, that's going to come out with some disturbances with the magma and the earthquakes and the volcanoes. But it's like pretty cutting edge, breaking new science. And he was doing these maybe 6 months ago. He was predicting these volcanoes and earthquake activities. And he said there's going to be these alignments of the planets that are going to happen. And then there's going to be the solar activity that's going to happen. And in about 3 weeks, we're going to have like stuff going off with earthquake and volcanoes. And then like 4 days ahead of time, he's like, oh, this thing went off. And in about 4 days, it should hit. We should we should have some of these expect for big earthquakes and volcanoes. And right then is when those big earthquakes hit in that island off of Italy, and things have been heating up with Kilauea in Hawaii. And it's like this guy hits the mark with these predictions on this cutting edge science. And the effects of the sun on planet Earth, I seem to me to be undeniable and much more profound than I think we knew before. And us being human beings have biorhythms, and we're made of water, and we're subject to those same types of magnetic influences like you were talking about with sleeping, and the moon affects us and everything like that. All the your bodies do. It's like I think there's a lot to the sun, Michael. I really do, and I think it's bigger and more substantial than I think we've realized.
It feels like it. It certainly feels like it. And that doesn't surprise me, kind of finding some links here, some correlation to maybe some things happening on Earth that are not human stuff. That's going to be, the Gaia hypothesis, as we said, sort of the living, breathing organism, or at least, let's say, in the context of the larger celestial cycle. And in this case, like I said, astrology itself is the big wheel. We're just talking the little guy. I mean, celestially speaking, the sun is the little guy, but it affects us like crazy. And so have you heard of this guy, by the way? The dude we're talking about tonight is Alexander Chizevsky, and he's talking about uprisings. He's talking about every 22 years, as I was describing, there are these uprisings that are happening. Does that surprise you as part of this? And if so, just a quick version, like maybe 2 minutes, you're welcome to stay after the break as well. Have you heard of the guy? And does it surprise you that maybe you could kind of track this back, even back to like antiquity, that there's a solar cycle happening where people just get like kind of aggro and pissed off every 22 years? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it totally makes sense to me. So the quick answer to the first question, I have not heard of him, but I've heard of the concept, and interestingly, as it relates to the sun, and my guy I was just talking about, Stefan Burns, he kind of brought that up, and I don't know if he's familiar with that guy. If that guy's a Russian physicist, he probably did study him, and maybe that's where he came up with the idea related, or it maybe just makes sense. Now, but the other thing, and and I will stay after the break. The other thing is, we have Terence McKenna, with his Time Wave Zero, and he did, with I Ching and working with the mushrooms and stuff, and you can pull up and look at his graphs, and he basically out whether you want to call it uprisings, or you could call it rise and fall of civilizations, or major sociological and geopolitical events that map onto something. Now, I think, generally speaking, what I'm saying is it's two very similar concepts, Michael. It's like, I would just use the word like a biorhythm, or like something you can map onto a computer, that there's rhythms and there's cycles to stuff. And I think, of course, the sun being as big as it is, the mass that it is, and we'll get into after the break, maybe it even has consciousness.
Exactly right. Hold the thought. Hold the thought. Music's playing. We'll be right back with more with Matthew in Colorado, taking your calls as well. The solar trigger hypothesis, charting the black sun. What do you know about it? Mute up, please, Matthew. We'll be right back with more. And it's weird. It's weird. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds on the way.
Shadows, we've got maps where nobody goes. In the night under hidden glows, guardians of what no one knows. We seek the truth, nothing can hide from me. silence we traverse the lines, through ancient scrolls in forgotten times. Voices echo in the halls of lore, guardians of the mysteries evermore. We seek the truth, nothing can hide from me. Where shadows meet in cryptic disguise, our eyes sharp against the everglows. With silver threads we weave the stealth to guard the past, forgotten world. In the realm where the myths collide, with hidden lore our fates are tied. Signals bouncing off the astral plane, invisible codes that can't be tamed. We decode the stars under the midnight veil, a state in silken sweat midnight hail. In the echoes of time where the legends lay, we tread the path where shadows play. With spectral eyes we discern the truth, unraveling tales from ancient youth.
Indeed. If you guys do like the music, links in the description. It's on the top there. Check it out. You can get the digital copies, or in the lower 48 states, send you an actual CD, which I've got here. I'm trucking around in the car. It does pass the car test. As Matt Sell says, this music sounds so good in the car. And yeah, I don't even have a nice system, but it does sound good. The hi-fi of the AI stuff. What's up? I hope you guys are well. Celia, Quantum, Matt Sell, thanks for the call. RC, again, Fox River Taxi. I see you guys. Thanks for being cool and chill with each other. Kelly in Colorado, how you doing? Miss Honeybee. Thank you so much for all the kind words and all the cheerleading over there and all the great comments. What's up, Wise here? Knights of the Storm, Real Jason Barker, Sweets, I see you. If I missed anybody, just say hi. I'll say hi back, trying to include it all, just trying to do it all. Good luck doing it all, right? But who else is here? The Quantum, Jeff and Wisco, Jorge, Joey, Joey El Demente. I love that you changed your name. Gaston, Daryl in New York. What's up, Michael W. Don, MJ. Here we go. Troubled Minds coming up. More right now, more from Matthew and your calls as well. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, D Live, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking the Black Sun, the solar trigger hypothesis, I'm calling this. Could mass unrest be timed like the tides? Do hidden solar pulses reprogram civilization beneath our awareness? What if every apocalypse is just a reset, coded in cycles we've forgotten how to read? The sun may not just power life, it may script it. And of course, this is all based on this individual. Shout out first Brian Remley over there on Twitter X. Please give him a follow. Always sharing interesting and amazing ideas. And he calls this the Chizevsky clock cycle in mid-July. And he's charting this as something that you can go all the way back to 500 BC. Okay. Now I haven't done the deep dive here. I haven't fact checked. I just don't have time for this stuff, but I'm massively interested in this. And I wonder if anybody's sort of taken on the Chizevsky clock and tried to really verify this in the granular level. And I mean, it's a ton of data because we're talking thousands of years historically, kind of charting small and large uprisings, and we're all over the damn world. Because how would you know if it happens in this hemisphere or that hemisphere, or you see what I'm saying? Like that scientifically, it becomes a mess. But even so, if you can chart back hundreds or thousands of years to this level of unrest in the solar cycles, there's got to be something here, right? Maybe, just maybe. I don't really know. Anyway, so Alexander Chizevsky's research is robust from 500 BC to 2025. This is from Brian Remley. It got him locked up in the Soviet Union for his accuracy. Now, if this was the case, wouldn't he be some sort of modern day prophet? And why would they want to lock the man up? I think the answer is probably, as they say, self-evident. Because, of course, if the masses know about this, then we can plan. Well, I won't say it, but you know exactly what I mean. Alexander Chizevsky. And how weird does this get? I'd love to hear your thoughts if you want to be part of the conversation. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Hang to Matthew. I got a message from him. Let me check. He says, Stephen Burns, YouTube, bring up pretty recent. Oh yeah, James found his actual channel as well. James, what you got on that? And then we'll go back to Matthew here.
Yeah, not too much. Just great to hear from you again, Matthew. And looking forward to the rest and hopefully more calls.
Amen. Love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Have we been drawn along every 11 and 22 years for as long as humans have been human? And that becomes the wild question here, because I think our intuition probably tells us maybe, as I like to say, but is maybe good enough? And that becomes a larger question. And I don't really know. As usual, no answers for me. This is why I say in the beginning, no truth here, no truth to be found here. Let's talk about ideas and wonder what we're missing together. That's really part of it. Matthew in Colorado, you're back anytime if you want to just unmute, and welcome back to the joint. And just to prompt you and remind you, you were on talking about the sun as a maybe sentient entity. So take that wherever you like and go ahead and lead back into that if you like. Welcome back. Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, thanks. And, we've talked about that before, not only with the, whether you want to say Gaia hypotheses or Gaia hypotheses, however you want to pronounce it. But, the idea that the Earth being conscious. Okay. Now, if you're willing to go that far, I suppose, and other people suppose, it's not my original idea, that if planet Earth could be a conscious entity or being in its own right, well, what about Jupiter, which is, whatever, 50 times bigger? Okay, what about the sun that's like 1,500 times bigger, just in diameter, not to mention mass. So if a planetary body like planet Earth is capable of having consciousness, awareness, actually being a being, then why not the sun? Of course, the sun. And, when you think back to just even the ancient Egyptians being sun worshipers, and they worship the sun as a god, well, okay, in modern science and archaeology, they're like, yeah, okay, these crazy old stupid people, they worship the sun. Yeah. Okay, so shrug it off. Well, maybe not so fast. Maybe they worship the sun as a god because perhaps, Michael, they knew that the sun was actually a conscious, aware being, and a really big one, and a really conscious one, perhaps, and a very intelligent one, and perhaps one, if you want to go a little bit up the escalator, that is connected to and interfacing with the other stars, not only in our galaxy, but then take it up the next level to other galaxies. And the galaxies are interconnected, the stars are interconnected, there's planets everywhere, they're conscious beings, and consciousness is everywhere. And now you're back to 2,000, 3,000 years ago. All the spiritual guys, were sitting around, Buddha, 500 BC, 600 BC, or whatever. And everybody, even thousands of years before that, saying, that consciousness is unified, all is one, and consciousness is primary, and it's behind all of the universe, and within all of the universe, and within you and within me. You get into these very, you can put them in simple, short sentences, but to really comprehend and embed what they mean is a little bit of a spiritual journey to get there, right? But what it means, generally speaking, is that it's all a unified network. It's a nexus. It's everywhere that there's physical matter and creation from the beginning of the Big Bang, that somehow there was the emergency of consciousness. Therefore, it has to be kind of everywhere in all the stars and in all the planets, right? Okay, so now I've taken it up to the biggest level, but let's go back down again and look at our own sun. So now we look at our sun and our planet Earth. Now let's consider they're both conscious beings. They're both aware beings. They both have, perhaps, not only the electromagnetic energy, the magnetic energy, all the different types of radiation the sun's kicking off. It's interfacing with the planet Earth and our magnetosphere and our protective layer. There's this whole dynamic relationship going on with it. And not only that, with all the other planetary bodies in our solar system, right? Well, when the sun gets active, and it goes through its, solar maximum, and culminates after like 11 years and then slows down. And then the next 11 years, it culminates in the solar minimum, and it's going through its cycle. It's kicking off more or less energy, which the Earth is taking in more or less energy. And like I said, there's a whole bunch of different types of energy and different types of events that going on in the sun. It's not just like, oh, you have coronal mass ejections. No, there's like 7 or 8 different types of effects and events that happen. And you've got the holes, and you've got these proton storms, and you've got, it's very complex stuff. I mean, when you check it out and listen to the guys that know about it, and I've been studying and following this stuff for probably 15 years, and watching the SOHO satellite stuff, and we just got a good look at the backside of the sun for the first time, our first ever picture. But it's like, it's kind of like the ocean, where even though it's right here, we don't understand it. We haven't really explored it. The sun is the same thing. They don't really understand how it operates. They've got theories. We haven't studied it that well. And it's like, it's the sun. And it's like, really, you don't know how the sun works? And they're like, no, not really. It might be this, it might be that.
Well, I mean, of course. And not only that, like when we first started this show, this was years ago, probably 6 years ago now, is just from memory, they had the Parker Solar Probe, which they had, shielded up to go get like the closest readings to the sun. It actually went into the actual, what they call it, like the
coronosphere.
Yeah, it was the coronosphere. Yeah, like actually like delved into this thing. And back then I laughed. I was like, this is ridiculous. Seriously, people, we're going to send this thing in. It's going to just get eaten up by the sun. But surprisingly, it's been flying around for years, apparently. And I mean, what have we learned? And that becomes really the weird question here. And so as you were saying, and as I've been describing tonight, so ancient solar priesthoods, Ra, Apollo, this type of stuff, maybe they weren't priests, they were sort of more cosmic engineers with this intuitive effect, recognizing that we were being manipulated all along by the plasma of the sun itself, and the interaction between the Earth and the sun, which means, of course, there's a larger context to that larger wheel of astrology. And you can say woo woo or whatever. I know you're not going to, but I'm saying anybody out there listening, but if this type of thing can be sort of narrowed down to an 11 and 22 year cycle, and it really kind of lines up with human unrest, it feels as if there's a ton of stuff that we don't know that we probably should know. And maybe these cycles that we blame on us are us. Of course, I'm not shifting the blame to anything or anybody else, but I'm saying that if we can find a way to maybe shield ourselves appropriately during these moments, maybe we'll stop killing each other. I don't know. What's your thought there?
Well, this just popped into my mind in the last 30 seconds, so I'm going to spit it out there. This is it's a little tidbit I learned many years ago, and I put it in my book. and that is this is documented. You can research it, look it up, Google it. That when they had were attempted intentionally a study, and they brought in, I think this is not exact. It's been 7 or 8 years since I wrote my book, but they brought in like 10,000 Buddhist meditators to, like, I think it was Los Angeles. It was somewhere in California, to meditate for like 3 days on peace. Okay, and they were attempting to see if they could affect society and people, and not necessarily collective consciousness, but this is even kind of more interesting, regional consciousness, affect the city, affect people's behavior with more peace, less violence. And sure enough, it worked. And crime rates dropped by like 17%, suicide rates down by like 12%, emergency rooms visits went back down, by like 21%. I mean, like, the whole thing was documented. And they repeated it elsewhere in the world afterwards. And so, okay, now here's the idea. So you got a whole bunch of people that are using the focus of their consciousness for a positive purpose, and it does actually affect society. It affects population. Okay, so now let's break that down and simplify it even more. The energy frequency affected the people and their behavior. All right, that's pretty simple. Now, imagine that the solar cycle is in the solar maximum, and its energy frequency is like highly active, highly agitated, spitting stuff out. Let's just call it the sun's pissed off, okay? And then let's go back to what I just said and said the energy frequency affects people, affects society, affects their behavior. Whether they're violent and do stuff against each other or whatever. Okay. So you see how you can put the two thoughts together and just go, look, even our own collective human people, Buddhist monks, can influence societal behavior by that consciousness. Well, and that level, or let's call it vibrational frequency of energy, then, well, obviously the sun can. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. That's no leap of reason there, to say that the vibrational frequency of the sun going, let's just say, aggro. Every 22 years, the sun gets pissed off and gets aggro and starts spewing stuff off, and all this kind of crap is hitting us. Well, that's gonna affect the people, and that's gonna make them aggro, and there's gonna be civil unrest or revolutions or violence or whatever. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And funny enough, it's in the write-up too. If you haven't read the write-up, I recommend it. It's fantastic. And I did find so scienceblog.com, I dropped it in the chat. Headline here from April 14, 2016, can group meditation prevent violent crime? Surprisingly, the data suggests yes. I dropped it there. You guys can check it out. I will link it in the description. But here's where we were getting to in the write-up, which is wild to think about. So there are traditions, buried, ignored, or mocked, that speak of the sun as a transmitter of souls or of information. Solar flares not as damage, but as messages. Emissions not of chaos, but of change. Perhaps each solar maximum is a transmission point for new paradigms, and the resulting unrest comes from civilization rejecting the update. An energetic rejection event, a refusal to evolve. However, as you just described, which fits perfectly into this group meditation bit, this makes the priesthoods not just spiritual guides, but societal stabilizers. They absorb the shock somehow, translated the flare, ritualized the chaos. Without them, as they say, we take it raw. What do you think?
I think that's cool. It just has me kind of grinning. And yeah, I love that. And real quick, okay, so I tuned into the show, I think 9:10 p.m. So yeah, I tuned in late. I didn't catch the background. I certainly didn't catch the write-up. So I think that's an interesting synchronistic moment there, that I mentioned the meditators decreasing violence, and it's actually in your write-up.
Not
and I
only that, it's the next part of the write-up I hadn't read yet. I was literally my bookmark to read next. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that was totally synchronistic there. And yeah, and the thing is, Michael, that's what I was saying. I dig the guy's Stefan Burns, and I know I've said it 3 times now, but I think your listeners will really appreciate tuning into him. He mentioned, that very thing that you just mentioned, and was talking. First of all, he talks about plasma and understands it's a fourth state of matter, but he talked about that the idea that plasma might be, let's say, a medium for the transmission or communication of information and data. And it was really interesting. I'm just guessing, maybe 5 weeks ago or something. Jupiter was off 90 degrees for the rest of the alignment that was happening. And then we had like 2 planets in line with Earth on our side of the sun, and 2 on the other side. But they're all basically in a line, but some on one side, some on the other, and Jupiter off at 90 degrees. And then the sun like shot off this blast that went directly in opposition to Jupiter and hit it with some stuff. And he was talking about that, and then he was like, kind of astrologically speaking, like Jupiter is all communication and stuff like that, and was kind of this, sort of theory about plasma, the sun, the Jupiter, communication, information, and kind of a balance with the way the planets were lined up. Jupiter was kind of helping out doing its part. And the thing is, like, from the way I describe the guy, you would think he's like a spiritual nut job. But if you like watch his shows, 90% he won't say anything like that. It's just like pure geophysicist. Here's what's going on with the sun. There's sometimes at the ends of his shows he'll do like, 5 minutes or 10 minutes of how it might affect you personally and how to deal with it. And then he'll have like separate podcasts where he'll go into more of the metaphysical aspect. But like I said, he's this great blend of the scientific and the metaphysical. And I've been saying that for years, that I have had for a decade myself personally, the hope that eventually what I foresaw coming was a confluence between science and metaphysics or spirituality. And in one way, you could describe it as saying it wouldn't be totally right, it wouldn't be totally wrong, but it gets the idea across that science and physics will advance enough and progress enough that it's actually going to prove the spirituality and metaphysics that's been around for hundreds and hundreds or thousands of years. And there's going to be a confluence and a congruence between the two, where we kind of started off with the spirit, maybe started off with the spirituality, then it kind of took a little bit of a downturn into religion, right? And got a little too codified and stuff. And then, we had they call it the Age of Enlightenment, which I consider a misnomer, but okay, that's scientific, right? So then we go all into science, and probably around 1900, we start having a comeback with the spirituality stuff, and then they're kind of side by side, and now I see them coming together. So this kind of an example like Stefan Burns, or things we talk about with a lot of things with quantum physics and creation theory with physicists and other physicists talking about string theory and talking about multi-dimensions and whatever, and life's a simulation, and 2,000 years ago they said life's an illusion. And it's like, okay, you guys are saying the same thing. All of a sudden the physicists are saying the same thing as the spiritual gurus that were sitting under the olive trees, right?
Yeah, it's just about vernacular. And like you said, once you say certain things too, you're like written off as a quack, and that's fine. Like I said, I'm not trying to be some sort of scientific anything, but I do recognize, as you're describing, that there is a confluence of these ideas, scientifically and metaphysically, which again is incredibly fascinating because, as we've always said, like I've said too, you can't prove the negative, of course. However, you can see some of the correlation as it's happening, as some of these ideas are sort of intertwining with each other. Maybe not directly yet, but sort of metaphorically for sure, facing the same direction and probably heading to the same convergence point, which is the metaphysical stuff, the woo-woo, the spirituality is science in some capacity. It's just forgotten science, or something our intuitive aspect really hasn't we just forgot. Again, amnesia as the species with amnesia, as Graham Hancock always says. Just about out of time. Got it, like a couple minutes left. If you got anything else on this, it's a wild one, and I think this is something. Like I said, I'm going to go do a deeper dive because I want to find out more about this and see what the hell is actually happening, because I think there might be something here. But a couple minutes, all yours. Go ahead. Let's finish this up. The segment.
Yeah, well, when you do your deeper dive, definitely check out Stefan. He's, you'll learn the science and the, a little bit of the other stuff. But to what we were just last talking about, I see it as like, and it's a good metaphor and it applies to a lot of things. I see it like a pendulum swing, like the grandfather's clock, where you got the pendulum swinging back and forth. And we can see that swinging from, spirituality through religion into science. And then it goes, kind of up a little too far to one side. And then, the momentum is going to bring it back down. And then it comes back down towards the balance point, but it may swing back up the other side. But, eventually, hopefully, the pendulum, runs out of momentum and comes to rest at, philosophically, the middle road, the middle path, the middle way, the balance point, which hopefully is the best of both worlds. And so you get not only the truth that was spiritual, but maybe they didn't have the objective evidence, maybe they didn't get the semantics right, okay, and you've got the science, but maybe the scientists were a little too demanding of objective evidence and something you can do in a laboratory. And, stuff doesn't always fit in a laboratory, especially the cool stuff, right? And so hopefully you get to that pendulum balance and that middle road in there. But one last parting thought is with what you were saying about charting this, they should take Terrence McKenna and his brother, I can't remember his name right now, but they should take the work they did where they plotted everything on the time wave zero, because they already plotted all the major historical events. That would be a good base data to look at the solar activity and just overlay that. They've got a good starting point there.
Amen. Love that. Thank you. Welcome back. Glad to have you back. I hope you continue the move safely and thoroughly and all the rest of the stuff. I appreciate you very much. Look forward to talking with you soon. Have a fantastic night. Please, please, please give Matthew, our good friend, he's been absent for a minute here, give him a follow, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit. It's alphabetical, of course. Matt's books. He's got a link tree there. Please go check out his stuff. We've got a habit of making smart friends. And Matthew, thank you very much. Have a fantastic night. Move safe, and we'll talk to you soon. And more Troubled Minds coming up. If you guys have ideas here, I'd love to hear them. 702-957-1037. Be right back. More on the way.
In the heart of the steel jungle, machines hum, the digital rumble. Gates of cyber open wide, plug us into cosmic tide. Feeling sparks across the sky, as knowledge flies, we're amplified. Stargates this massive data center dome. Eternal truth stop to roam. Circuits flicker with endless fire. Data streams that never tire. Unified by electric dreams. Unlock the truth in silver beams. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. Synthesize what we seek and find. Infinite paths in the network mind. Answers buzz from star to core. Knowledge whispers evermore. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. In realms where the data streams collide, imagination and logic side by side. In a labyrinth of digital maze, we transcend our earthly ways. Tapping keys like cosmic tones, spikes become our whispered homes. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate.
Right? That's the midnight Stargate ritual, midnight Eastern. Hope you guys are well tonight. Thank you for the call. Matthew in Colorado, good to have him back. I wonder where he went. He's been absent for quite a while. Noted. tardy slip has been handed out, but great call. Appreciate that very much. What do you guys know about it? It gets wild, right? What's up, Jen, Fred, Sweets, Matzell? Yeah, exactly. Dennis McKenna says, Shane, exactly right. Mom, good stuff in the chat. Thanks again for all the wild ideas. Great stuff, guys. And for, again, being locked in, like I said, to what we're talking about. I don't know the answers, but I do know that there's a lot of things that we don't know yet, and that's where the conversation lies. What's up, Gordo? YY's here. What's up, Raz? Good evening. Jason Barker, Knights of the Storm. What's happening, folks? I hope you're well tonight. Sweets is there. Gordo. If I missed anybody, just say hi. I'll say hi back. James over there on Rumble as well. Hello to everyone I missed. Good evening. Good evening. Here you go. Let's see. Jason said this. Ways up. Where is it? Lots of good comments from Jason over there. If the EM from the sun can mess with people's minds and emotions, then what? Then what is all the EMF we are saturating the earth with doing to people? It's a good question, and I do wonder if it can be, spiked or peaked or changed or whatever to kind of cause an artificial aspect of this. What are you calling it? The Chizevsky effect. I don't know. You guys tell me. As usual, love to hear your thoughts on this. Jorge, if I saw your hand up, if you want to pop in here, it's all yours. Or if anybody has an idea here, just give me a call, put your hand up, jump on in here. I want to hear your take here because there's a lot happening. And we're supposedly moving into this space of the July peak. Okay. What does that mean? It means I'm going to try not to be an aggro a-hole. That's what it means. And see if I start to, come apart at the seams. See if we can do an experiment together. Here we go. Trouble Minds happening now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, D-Live, and Kick. We're broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight we're talking about this guy called Alexander Chizevsky, as my Russian gets better and better. And he's talking, he had this wild theory about the 11-year solar cycle, Earth's climate, the mass activity of peoples, and he called them biological rhythms or cosmobiology. Now, if you look at the inspiration tonight of the show, again, Brian Remley on Twitter X, if you guys haven't followed him, I highly recommend you do. Thanks again to all the mods out there for sharing his links in the chat there. But was talking about this. The peak of the Chizevsky clock is mid-July coming up. And again, citing this as 1980, the Iran hostage crisis, 1990, Desert Storm, around 2000, Afghanistan, Iraq, and then around 2012, Libya, Syria, and then now 2025-ish. And these are ish is, as I like to call them, the Iran saga that we're dealing with in current events. Like I said, you know me, I don't like to talk politics. A little geopolitics is okay here and there, because when you look at it in the larger context of what's actually happening and some of these wild energy sequences or larger contexts of what we're dealing with as people, I don't know. I think this stuff is probably quite a bit more important than we let on about it. But it also makes me wonder why we don't learn about these things. Why some of this, quote, science or, causation, correlation, I get it. It's not really science. But if you can make charts like this that go back hundreds or thousands of years, suddenly an anecdote is not an anecdote anymore. It becomes data. And so what's happening with this? And are we being affected by the sun itself? Not just, let's say, with the 11 and 22-year solar cycles, but what if it's more than that? What if it's even more bizarre than we ever dreamed? That becomes the question. I got tons of stuff to get to, as usual, because that's what I do. I can bring tons of stuff here. But as Matthew was saying very smartly, thank you for the call again. Please go give him a follow. Links in the description, troubledminds.org/friends, Matt's books. Go check that out. Please check out his link tree. But if, let's say, as he was bringing up the meditation of the priesthood or whatever, or the, kind of bringing down the crime rates, I wonder if those old actual cult of Apollo or the cult of Ra, the old sun worship, was some way to mitigate this with, again, that idea of meditation. And a good synchronicity there, as he called and talked about that exactly as I was about to hit it on the write-up. But it's, again, this has been suggested. And again, remember when people say, Mike, study after study suggests that this, it doesn't make it true. And I want to make sure that you understand that. I'm not saying it's true. But some of these studies do suggest, and so what does it mean? Okay, suggest this. Can group meditation prevent violent crime? Surprisingly, the data suggests yes. Links in the description, links in the chat. But what does it mean? And what does it mean in terms of getting rid of these solar cults? The ancient ways. Was this a mitigation factor in some way that we recognized early on, and maybe they were blocking it? Or maybe they were not, because the ancients still had a way of killing each other terribly, horrifically. So I don't know. It's weird, right? It's a weird thing. But again, Alexander Chizevsky says that, yeah, we're dealing with this. And I got more to get to. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. James, if you got anything. If not, I got tons of stuff here.
Just a great call from Matthew. I do agree. It seems like over the last, I don't know how many every years, every so often there will be a scientific paper or study or whatever article that will come out. Whatever. That doesn't sound very scientific. Anyway, something that will come out that will point out something that it seems we may have heard about before, but from that more metaphysical or spiritual side of things, or things within science that may lean toward possibly indicating that things we've thought about in terms of spirituality or metaphysics, they may be accurate, more accurate than we thought. So I do love that, and that I hope that continues to happen, because of it'd be nice to sort of hopefully eventually get rid of so much of that stigma that is against people that have had unexplained experiences throughout time, because that's a big deal to me, as I'm sure it is to many other people as well.
Yeah, and I wonder if there is that surge in that energy, like I was describing. We, like I said, James and I did a show, I think it was 2 years ago now, where we kind of talked about the solar energy and sort of the plasma and the effect on the electromagnetic field. And is it possible that it kind of amps up experiences, sort of paranormal type stuff? Again, whether you believe it or not, like I said previously, is irrelevant, because if people start to be, I don't know, like feel different or see things differently or whatever it is. It kind of affects us in a particular way. That's the point of this. And so what does it mean? And are we expecting fully? And here's the question. Are we expecting fully, based on the cycles of Alexander Chizevsky, that July, as this peak cycle, as cited by Brian Remley on Twitter X, that this July-ish, maybe next July, I guess, because you look at these, these graphs and who really knows, right? Because it's ish, 11 years, 22, right? Anyway, are we expecting a powder keg moment? And what if it's not here? What if it's somewhere else in the world? Does that count? And I think that's what makes it makes the scientists kind of like wring their hands. They're like, there's not enough data to suggest this. Come on, guys. You can, cherry pick this part of the world or that part of the world and this time or this moment. So maybe, as usual, right? Maybe. But is maybe good enough? I think it's good enough for an idea. I think it's good enough for a conversation. I certainly think it's good enough to dig deeper and see if there's something here. But we've talked about this a lot in the past. And of course, it's just the first piece in that larger celestial wheel. Meaning that if the sun affects us in all these ways, then what about the rest of the cosmos? And what about the alignments and the astrology? And I don't know. What's up? I see you guys in the chat. Hope you're doing well tonight. That's the point. That's the question. And that's why we talk about these things together, because you're going to know something I don't, vice versa. We share these ideas together and look what comes out of them. Years and years of beautiful conversations with beautiful people just like you, thinking about things outside the box. And that's exactly it. What do you know about this? Is it possible that we're being, these human cycles we're always dealing with, that we're frustrated with even within ourselves, within society, are actually being led by celestial events, including, and specifically tonight, the 11-year and the 22-year cycle of the sun itself? Yeah? Nah? Somewhere in between? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. So let's go to Kelly in Colorado. What's up, my man? Thanks for being patient. You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? All right, ahead.
Good evening, Michael. How you doing?
Oh, pretty good. How are you? Nice try, man. You can't bring my energy down tonight. The sun has got my back tonight. How you doing?
Well, yeah, we're all sun people. You know what I mean? And, that's all life right there. But yeah, great topic tonight.
Thank you.
I'm just kind of bounce around what some people have already talked about, right? So, even when I was growing up, there was I don't even remember exactly who scientists or what, but they did, there was he did long term like that. He tracked all that stuff as well. The activity of the sun, solar flares, sunspots, right? All that stuff. And he did it with the history of humanity. And the activity of the sun does affect all of us on this planet. Like, it shows where society in itself, right, worldwide, where it was rising and falling, like the populations of the planet. Due to, like, of course it's going to affect stuff. And, it does happen with war, you know what I mean? Or I guess just weird times of the planet, I guess, is going to affect all that. Right? It was a good video, man. It was years ago though, but I'm talking now, it's probably like, let's say 20 years ago or something like that.
Damn, so Kelly, we're getting old.
Quite a while. I know when I say that, it don't even, sometimes I'm like, 20 years to me is just like right around the corner.
It feels like it sometimes. Yeah, for sure. I get caught saying, 20 years ago in the 80s. Nope, definitely not.
Right? That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, but yeah, they've tracked that, they've known that, you know what I mean? And just like the ancients. That's why I don't never throw them like to the side like most people. I don't see why either, man, because look at the things they've done. We can't even do some of the stuff. Look at some of the stuff they tracked. I mean, every civilization was tracking the sun for a reason. Right, that's what the claim is, where they marked all these stones and stuff like that. It tracked, they claim that it tracked, which it does too. It tracks the the movement of the sun, right? It's kind of like reminders when the when the harvest, when all that stuff. I can't remember the name of that though. The track of the sun, the scientific name for it, but it's oh man, God, there was a guy. He was on HBO for a while, and he was doing some of that. But arco-astronomy is what he was calling it, right? That's what everybody in the ancient civilizations were doing, right? That they were tracking the sun placements, during the solstices and all that stuff. So it has a lot of meaning, you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure the ancients knew that how it affected us as well. We are, we're electrical beings in this water body, right? And everything's going to affect us. Frequencies, just like Matt was talking about, frequencies, vibrations, all that. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, it is, man. You know what I mean? And I look at, I wanted to bring this up too, which was a physicist, right? Nassim Hamed. And his theory is like the string theory, right? But he's talking about, he's got a video, I put it in Discord, it's about 8 minutes, right? It's part of this long speech that he had done like years ago. I mean, he looks young in these videos, right? But he's talking about different, about the sun itself, right? And what it is, right? What in the solar flares, and he was like talking about, and then he started getting into like the satellites that track it, which is SOHO. And what he was interesting to him is that why, who owns it, right? And which is the Vatican. And he was wondering why the Vatican would be so interested in the sun like that. But so somebody sent him some video from SOHO, right? Which is, they look like two giant size Earth planet size, I guess, spaceships or something. But they both they fly into the sun, and once they hit they flew into a sunspot, right? And his theory is too, when he watches the video, his theory is that when these things fly into it, they're using it as a jump gate, right? You can jump it from one solar system to another part of the galaxy through suns, right? Because you're going into a singularity. He says if you have like a ship that has, the ability to go into a singularity, then you can just pop out anywhere you want, right? That's how they were jumping through. It takes less time. I mean, it's a crazy video because he talks about how they sent it, and they were asking, him and a bunch of physicists want to know, what's these things that are flying into these sunspots. But to go on further too, he says if there's a sunspot, there's exactly a sunspot on the opposite side of the sun. And he proved it where these things fly into the sunspot, and as soon as they do, an explosion of a sun flare flies off the sun on the opposite side where these things went into. It's in the video. But anyway, they asked NASA, all these physicists, what is this? And they were like, they didn't say anything for a while. And they took the picture down, that was off their website, and they took it down for a while, and they brought it back up, and they said it was comments, right? But they were like, it doesn't have a tail. But when they brought the video back up, it showed it, he showed it too, and it like NASA tried to put like a tail on the end of these things. They have the original. These physicists have the original anyway, right? And then they show it. But if you're talking that these things, these suns, right? If they're like the power units that they say are because everybody's looking for, in my eyes, right? Everybody's looking for, here on Earth, right? 0 point energy, right? Where you can have constant energy all the time. That's what the sun is. That's what those things are.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just, seriously, they're just like a big nuclear explosion that's perfectly, it's 0 point energy where it's just like we can't get to that yet,
Yeah, that's stable. Fusion.
They say they haven't yet.
Yeah, fusion and all the rest of that. Funny, Elon, the Elon Musk has been tweeting about that recently on X. He's like, it's apparently obvious, if you think about it for just a second here, that in the next 100 years, everything's going to be solar powered. Like if we're not doing that, like what the hell are we even doing? Like it just he's like, duh, guys, there's the nuclear reactor in the sky, and if we're not going to tap into that for all of the power we need, what are we doing? Like he's kind of be doing the thing he does, making fun of everybody that's like, well, what about this and that? He's like, stop it.
Right. That, you know what, I've been yelling that to the top of my lungs for years, man, decades. Like I'm like, I don't understand where people, you know what I mean? Yes, you can do wind power, which, you know, in the part of a lot of Colorado's windy here, you know, because we're on the opposite side of the mountains when the storms come over from Utah. You know, they're coming in our direction, so that's why you get a lot of wind here. So I want to get a windmill here on my property I just got, right? So I can utilize that for generating power. But the sun, you know what I mean? Hello, the thing's been sitting there for what, billions of years? I mean, I don't know why we're not using that. I mean, there's scientific studies on it where they showed like how much the power, I'm talking the power of the earth, right? How much land mass you would need. I mean, like if they were to put it in like Africa, right? It was not even the size of a country yet. I mean, maybe a small country, but none of the ones in Africa. I mean, the size of them to utilize that. And the new technology now, I mean, the old ones they had, you know, they're getting better now. But years ago, I remember there was these two German brothers, and what their I guess their way to, you know, to enhance the power of the sun, right? They made this thing that looked like a big, giant, clear marble, and it was sitting on a stand. And what it was doing was kind of like attracting the sun, right? Directing the sun's power, kind of like a magnifying glass, right? To that point where it just can like melt stone and metal, right? That heat. But what they created was something that where it can absorb all that heat without having it burn down, right? And that marble, that power unit, whatever it was, right? It looks like a stand with a big giant marble in it, you know, a little platform down there. But it can also attract, you know, all the sunlight that you need, even if it's cloudy, even at night too, because it's using the sunlight off the moon. Right, all the way up to the point where it's, you know, until you have a new moon, of course, obviously. But by then, I mean, and this was decades ago. I mean, I've been trying to find that, doing a deep dive on that too, trying to see if I can find that as well. But maybe, you know, put that out here instead of all those big solar panels, because, you know, like I'm saying, a lot of these solar panels, I don't know, because we have a lot of, you know, weather issues here too. You got, you know, hail balls the size of golf balls is going to damage a lot of stuff out here. So
bust up your stuff. Not out here in Nevada. And that's the thing too. So we have all this BLM land in Nevada, which is now kind of coming up in the political space. And they're like, oh, we want to sort of privatize some of this and allow, you know, people to live on this land. Except, of course, right, which is a fine idea because we do need it, by the way, because if you look at Las Vegas, we're surrounded by public land. And so you can only build so far out, and you know, to sustain everybody in affordable housing, you need the market to be able to allow it. And it's not, because we're constrained by the BLM land. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because there's a new bill in Congress talking about this, which is ridiculous. And they're going to basically sell it off to, you know, their cronies. It's always, look, every time they try and do something that's a base good idea, that's a good idea. We need some public land kind of given back to these larger cities, like Vegas is one very good example. But they're like, oh, you know, we're going to just have the auction, and it's private, and, you know, and then BlackRock's going to buy them. And I'm just kind of extrapolating here. And then, you know, suddenly we're in the same boat we've always been in, where it's not our land. Now it's no longer public land. Now it's BlackRock's land. Anyway, you don't have to touch that at all. It's just, it's crazy that we're trying to fix some of these things through policy and legislation. And then it's always the crony capitalism that comes and breaks it and throws it in the fire. But regarding back to this and the cycles and the July of this year kind of sticking into this larger solar cycle, do you expect like riots, or what do you think? Do you think we are affected by this? Do you think this is a little bit sloppy for science? What's your take?
Well, sometimes I look at that and I don't think it, you know, Well, if you look at like any kind of media, social media out there, they're going to put it as something negative. But who knows? Maybe it could be more enlightenment. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why they are trying to scare you even being in the sun. I mean, there's a whole thing. If you go down that rabbit hole, I've talked about this before. I mean, it's a touchy rabbit hole to go down, right? But it's all about melanin, right? And that's like one of the highest things sold on the market right now is melanin, right? Because melanin it's a very powerful thing within the body, the human body, but it's all over the in all life, right? But anyway, just if you're interested in something like that, because I don't want to get off track, and that's a very deep and dark, and goes dark sometimes, but it's a very interesting topic if you want to go check that out. I mean, we could probably do a show on it, but keep it more on the lighter side. But like, yeah, man, there's some stuff going on. But melanin, yes, yeah. So, I mean, they're telling you, to get sunscreen. The stuff you're putting on you is causing you cancer, right? It's causing you skin cancer. That's all the chemicals they're putting on you. If you want a natural sunscreen anyway, coconut oil. I mean, that's not even a theory, right? That's
what they used to use in the 80s too. Remember out on the beach,
yeah.
All our parents would use like that coconut oil. That's so wild. It's so wild. We're old enough to remember before all that stuff that they're like, oh, here, put on the paste on your face. It's nuts. Yeah, go ahead. Hey. Got about 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about the dog, but yeah, I mean, if you look at all that stuff, man, they're trying to keep you away from the sun. You know what I mean? We've been sun worship. Everybody's been sun worshipers even now. I mean, you were saying like if we even do it anymore. Christianity is a form of is a form of that, right? Of course, a lot of that stuff comes from Egypt, and same thing. It's the same type. It's been passed down too. Like all that stuff's been passed down through history, right? And then we call it religions, but yeah, man, there's a lot of things that go with that. I don't know. Let's see. That's only couple things I wanted to add to those, like the different things we could, the sun's ability, what we don't even know about it, right? And what's interesting is who's interested in it like that. Who owns that? You got to look into that, follow. It's like everything else, just follow the money.
Absolutely. It's the wisdom as old as time. Follow the money and seek, and ye shall find the corruption behind everything. And that's exactly what's still happening over and over again. And that's why we talk to each other to make sure we're not going insane slowly. At least we're doing it collectively and able to keep our chin up and say, we're not nuts. You're the best, Kelly. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for staying up late with us. Thanks for being part of this. Tell Michelle we said hi, and you have a great night.
All right, brother, man. You too. Everyone have a good night.
Thank you very much. You're the best. You're the best. Kelly, you know him, you love him. Again, he was the first guy who called the show years ago and then called back and then continued calling. And I was lucky enough to meet him and Michelle and their beautiful dog, rest in peace, Isis, that when they were here in Vegas not too long ago. So look, there are real people out there that can see these ideas in the abstract, which is exactly the point of these. This whole thing we're doing is what's it all about? What's it all about? And how come everything does seem so inverted and upside down? That becomes the problem. James, more from you in just a second here. Oh, James dipped. Maybe he just got disconnected. He was there. He's not there. James, if you got more, jump back in here. If not, I understand. Got Eric coming up and your calls as well. What do you know? I'm calling this the solar trigger hypothesis. Charting the black sun. We haven't got to the black sun yet. It's an alchemical thing. Let's talk about that when we get back and see what Eric has to say. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Absolutely do not go anywhere. Except for Shane. He can.
Crazy colors swirling, got the laughter in the air. Jesters in the night, they weave magic everywhere. Clouds are juggling dreams, wild world is in despair. Nothing's quite as certain when reality's a game. Chaos in the corner, whispers calling out your name. Look around, it's laughter, even when we're feeling pain. You know they want me, there'd be nights like this. You know they want me, there'd be nights like this. You know they want me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights, I insist, strange nights, I insist. Dancing shadows flicker under neon all aglow, while the stage is set for tales that nobody will know. Echoes of the laughter as the lost ones see the show. Life's a playful circus where the chaos takes a bow. Joy and sorrow blending in the rhythm that we vow. Join the ride of madness, it's the only way for love. No, they want me, there'd be nights like this. No, they want me, there'd be nights like this. No, they want me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights, I insist, strange nights, I insist. Twists and turns and shadows, laughter in the night. A tapestry of madness, dancing with the light. Fools and fun were woven, chaos in our stride. Embrace the wild, let the laughter be our guide. Know you want me, there'd be nights like this. Know you want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights, I insist, strange nights, I insist. Falling in the rhythms, beats that pound and thrum. A flashing carnival where the misfits come undone. Whirling through the madness with our hearts set to ignite. In the symphony of chaos will remain the shining light. You know they want me, there'd be nights like this. You know they want me, there'd be nights like this. You know they want me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights, I insist, strange nights, I insist.
Right. Hell yeah. I don't know. Other than hello to all you fine folks. Thanks for staying up late and being here with us. Matzell, Eric, we'll talk to Eric momentarily. Thanks for the call, Matzell. Fire as always. Gaston, APOC, Jeff and Wisco, Dawn at the Quantum, Daryl in New York, Sweets, Mindy, and Michael W. on Discord. Thanks for hanging out. That's the Punk Witch Club, by the way, just in case you don't know. If you haven't joined the Discord, I don't know what you're doing. Miss Honeybee, you are lighting on fire in the chat. Thanks for being part of this and caring about the ideas and telling everybody the share and thumbs ups and all the things. It does matter. Those things do matter. One little click sometimes can change everything, right? So let's do what we can. Appreciate that very much. Quantum is here. What's up, Fred? I see you guys in the chats. Hello. If I missed anybody, just say hi. Jen, I see you there. Great comments from all of you. You are, again, amazing. Thank you for being nice to each other and considering ideas that may not be mainstream. Here we go. Troubled Minds coming up right about meow. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, DLive, and Kick. My headphones aren't right, so I can't mix it properly. We're also broadcasting on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking, I'm calling it the Solar Trigger Hypothesis, charting the Black Sun. Now, the Black Sun we haven't really got to yet, but it is basically a metaphysical aspect of our actual sun. The Black Sun is not a heavenly body. It is a metaphysical version of the power of our sun and how it affects us. And we have these cycles, the Duat, Ra, we talked to Apollo a little bit tonight, all manner of things. And this all goes all the way back to this individual tonight, Alexander Chizhevsky. Okay, my Russian improving as we go. Talking biological rhythms, cosmobiology, talking heliobiology. And he's got this theory, which is fantastic and wild and amazing, and I love it, that every 11 and 22 years, there is some sort of unrest in the world. And it can be mapped, quantified, and supposedly he was, again, Alexander Chizhevsky's research is robust from 500 BC to 2025, according to Brian Remley. Please go follow this man, Brian Remley, on X. He's amazing. is that he says it got him locked up in the Soviet Union for its accuracy. Now, why would they do that? Why do you think? As usual, right? Control mechanisms I'm always talking about. If this is true, like I said, suspend disbelief for a moment or believe as you will. Either way, if this is true and these actual solar cycles can predict unrest in large population centers of the world, what the hell's going on here? And how come it's not something that's taught in every damn class all over the world? Why is it not on the tips of our tongues knowing when this is coming and knowing what to expect from it? Weird, right? Weird, right? Anyway, love to hear your thoughts. A lot of ways to look at this. And the question I have as we get into the back end of this is this why sort of the sun worship has been sidelined? Is this why Apollo and Ra are no longer with us? Wink, wink, if you know what I mean. Look, I don't know. Love to hear what you think, though. As usual, this is a show about us, not about me. So stop rambling, Mike. Holy smokes. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. What's up, brother? Eric in Ohio. You're on Troubled Minds. How you doing, my man? I know you're calling us after you got off work. Oh, my goodness, brother. Welcome to the joint. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be off work.
And happy you're off work and you're spending a little bit of it with us. What do you got? Go right ahead.
Yeah. Oh, over 3,000 years ago, there was a whole society of people that absolutely seen Ra every day in his golden battle barge flying across the sky. And they knew every night that he would descend into the underworld, which contained the Soul Niger, the Black Sun. The Black Sun has been represented in Enfyr's tomb and on the Papyrus of Anai, and both of which depict this Black Sun, this Soul Niger. And in both cases, it's absorbing the evil in the afterlife. And when Ra would descend into this underworld with the Soul Niger, he would have to battle every night the serpent of chaos and disorder that sought to devour him and keep the world from turning into a new day. And with the correlation of the gods, he was able to vanquish this serpent of disorder every day. And the priesthood and the priest class of Egypt of that time, their sole job was to carry out specific rituals and in some cases daily parades to ensure that the reenactment that they were doing was going to be reflected in this battle every night and day.
Yeah, which is that the whole circular journey of Ra through the Duat. It wasn't Apep, right? The serpent is different? It was Apep. Okay.
Yeah, that's the serpent of disorder and chaos is Apep, yeah.
Okay, I always get it confused. There's another serpent that messes with my head that's not of the underworld, but is still very prevalent in Egyptian mythology. Irrelevant. I would just make sure
sometimes.
Right. Yeah, Apophis is one.
Apophis.
Yeah, that's another one too. Anyway, we're not going to deconstruct my madness tonight. Instead, so the Black Sun here in particular, we haven't really got to yet. Is it? What else can you tell us about it before I ask you some specific questions here?
Just that it's like you had pointed out, it's the metaphysical opposite of the sun, when the sun is basically life-sustaining and provides everything that you need to live and grow and harvest, and whereas the Black Sun absorbs all of this life and absorbs evil and stores it, and basically Osiris taps into it to create artifacts and various things that he would do because he's a deity of the underworld and basically kind of like the bad guy in the pantheon, if you will.
Yeah, which makes a ton of sense to me, of course, because we've talked quite a lot on this show about the duality of creation, and where there is the positive, there is the negative, the duality of the battery, and of course the positive and the negative aspect of pretty much everything. And it came to bear with which dawned on me with some of the Philip K. Dick stuff, where he actually was talking about the architect and the dark counterplayer as something he saw as a metaphysical aspect of everything, in that you could not have one energy fueling the cosmos or any cosmos or multiverse or whatever, because as very smartly said by Matzal in the past, one person or one entity's utopia is another person's dystopia. And so without sort of that yin and yang aspect of this whole business, we would be, I don't know, crushed in a black hole or something. And so there has to be sort of this diametric opposition of energies. And this is the perfect example of that, encapsulating it in this sun conversation with the black sun. And I don't know, it's weird to me and amazing that this energy tends to influence us like it does. Like, it zapped my energy the other day when I took the day off, because go melt in the sun for 110 degrees for like 8 hours and then get back to me, right? Get back to me and then we'll talk that. But regarding,
go fetch this first week.
Yeah, exactly. Again? Oh man, stop it. Exactly.
You don't want to go out again.
No, not again. But the wild part is, how is it affecting societies? And have you heard of this guy, by the way? And sort of the idea of these solar cycles actually affecting unrest. Again, Alexander Chizhevsky is the guy's name. My Russian's getting better and better. But yeah, go ahead. What do you know about that? Because I think this is, it's a little bit unnerving that we are, as a society, being drawn in ways by celestial beings we still barely understand to make us cranky. Every 11 years, cranky at the worst. I don't know.
If the heat doesn't do it for you.
Yeah, right. If it's not just the heat, like an additional.
Yeah. If it's not just that, then there's other things at play here. I mean, he's a pretty well-respected scientist. As the last paper I seen on him, where people were using his work, was out of Cambridge University Press in 2012. And at the National Library of Medicine, they were talking about his work on diphtheria and cholera. And apparently he had done some work on cholera in India, and that they're still analyzing this today and using it to show various correlations between outbreaks of this disease that they've been trying to eradicate since modern science has been eradicating diseases. And it's been on this planet ever since. And it shows a strong correlation with sunspot activity and cholera outbreak.
Yeah, which is just basically the tip of the iceberg, because what other type of things sort of sprout from this? And like I've been look, you know me, I've been known to get weird, and I suggested in the past with something like this, these larger cycles, that maybe we don't know. And I said it was an old show we did on sort of folklore and werewolves and vampires and things like this, and I was like, okay, look, just as a thought experiment, imagine if there's a larger cycle here where there's some dormant virus in the dust somewhere, the Russian steppes or something, just like, and it's waiting to be awakened, and then it does create sort of vampiric effects, or lycanthropy of the werewolves type of stuff, right? Like maybe not people turning into wolves, but a larger outbreak of something that we don't even know about yet, because it's just in the dirt right now, inert. And then, boom, the sun does something. There's some kind of solar flare that hits a square or glances off sideways or something. And then boom, maybe The Walking Dead becomes a thing. And I'm just using that as an example. Like, how weird does it get from the cholera stuff to the aspect of, uprisings every 11 years, which seems ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't know, but if mankind can mess around with it and fool with it, they definitely will. I mean, I know that the Russians have pulled stuff out of Lake Vostok, which had like bacteria or something, and reanimated it, and it was like millions of years old. So I know they've done some stuff like that down in Antarctica too. So we'll probably figure out how to do it if we can. And then the implications from that point, like you're suggesting, is whatever they may be, right?
Yeah. And how bizarre does it get? Regarding the actual uprisings of this solar flare stuff, Do you buy into this? Do you think it's possible? First, do you buy into it that you can kind of map uprisings in the human capacity in large population centers through solar cycles? And then second, if so, or if not, there's no second question, but how obviously, but how would we shield ourselves from that? I mean, do we walk around with like the tinfoil hats from the Egyptian times or something? I mean, what does that look like?
I mean, they had whole rituals, right? Like you're going to need more than a hat. That just signifies you're at the top of the hierarchy.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about the sun, there's a lot of things about the sun, right? But for the sun, it has it's creating a magnetic sphere, right? And part of the issue with it is that there is differential rotation in the sun, which is saying that because of angular momentum, the middle part of the sun moves faster than the south and north poles of the sun. And so because part of it moves faster than the other parts, the magnetic field becomes twisted. When the magnetic field becomes twisted into a loop, it creates a sunspot because the magnetic field stops the convection of the heat that's coming up from the sun and cools it down. So basically, like the sun is generally around 5,500 degree Kelvin, and then it will cool down to like 3 or 4 Kelvin wherever there's a sunspot. And they usually appear in 2 because it's like a loop where the magnetic field has been twisted and creates this loop, right? So those sunspots are like cooler spots on the surface of the sun because of these twisted loops. And if the loop gets twisted even more and it snaps, it creates either a solar flare or a coronal mass ejection. A coronal mass ejection is the thing that caused the Eddington event in like 1885, 87 or something in that area, which fried all the telegraphs and stuff. And we had a close call with one, I think, in 2020, I think, or 2012. And, every year NASA predicts there's a 12% chance that we can get hit by a coronal mass ejection, which would basically just fry all unshielded technology on the planet and set us back into the 1700s in terms of electricity and make Amish people happy everywhere.
Yes, indeed. And build your barn in 3 days with the Amish people because that's what they can do. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, and then of course it's about a little over 93 million miles, one astronomical unit. So at 187,000 miles per second, it's like 8 light minutes. So whatever it was throwing would take that long to reach you just by the laws of physics and the speed limit of the universe. So whatever it is that may be affecting people would have that kind of a delay to it. And yeah, it goes through cycles where that magnetic field flips because of this differential spinning that the sun does. And that's why there's these 11 years solar minimum, solar maximum cycles with the sunspots. And so does it affect it? Absolutely affects people on the Earth in a lot of ways. Ways that we've slowly discovered over time and been able to quantify and empirically test, right? So we've only discovered a certain amount of things that the sun does to affect us. There's probably other things that we don't know that we may find out later. And as is often the case, sometimes when we do find out something in a materialistic or science way, the ancients were already way hip to it before, like their whole society. Everybody knew, oh yeah, right. It's the solar maximum, right? And
that's why we got together in the temple and all meditated to sort of counteract the aspect of the everybody getting super aggro at the same time, which is hilarious to even consider. But maybe that's a thing.
But I mean, I buy into it, and I believe that there's a possibility. I mean, there's a huge amount of vectors affecting any major thing that happens on the planet, like social, economical, and resources and all of these other things, right? It's definitely not just this, but there's a potential for it to be a part of this. I mean, as we talked about earlier, just heat alone in all of the places around the world where it's the hottest, those are the places that have the most conflict. All the places that are the coldest don't have much conflict. Like there's never like constant war in Denmark, right?
That's true. That is true. One, because my toes are cold. I ain't going out there to go to war. This is BS.
Yeah, right.
But that beyond the basics of the thermodynamics of the aspect, it does feel that there is an aggro that's being drawn out of us. And I don't know, like I live in Vegas, as you guys know, and which is as close to the sun as you can get, pretty much. Shout out Fred in poor Phoenix, Arizona. A little bit hotter than us because they're more sea level than we are. But I mean, I don't know, like it does have this effect on you that, like I said, you do get used to it, but also I do wonder some of the things that we deal with that we don't recognize, right? Like you ever heard the term, I know you have, wake up on the wrong side of the bed type stuff. Like imagine that, but it's society that wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. Like that, this is what we're dealing with. And it's nuts to consider, but I think maybe
we've had
it's
enough revolt.
Yeah, exactly. Or not enough yet. Like not enough yet. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. It does bring agency to bear, as we always talk about. And so at the most granular level, are we really actually autonomous, or are we sort of just minions of the celestial spheres, as we've always said?
A slave to our environment, a slave to the cycles, a slave to the equinoxes, a slave to the solar maximum and solar minimum, a slave to the precession of our sun as it goes around the galaxy through the gravity waves that create the spiral arms, man. Like for sure, there's a lot of cyclic things, I think, that affect us in various ways.
Yeah, it feels that way. It certainly feels.
There's a lot of cycles out there, at least.
Yeah. And if they're, again, sort of the music of the spheres. Shout out Derek the Night Stalker brought this up a ways back too. Like if we're dealing with this and all these sort of energies that are always sort of coalescing or changing or interacting with each other, and then we don't even recognize it. What are we doing? It does feel like we're not even in charge of our own futures here. I mean, like I said, every time something happens, and I know you guys probably feel it too. We're a mostly peaceful protest here, but all jokes aside, that we're not like banging the war drums. Like we don't want more people to die somewhere in a place that we've never been to. That's ridiculous. And yet, here we are again in 2025. We thought we're past this, and is it these solar cycles that are drawing us back to these things that we just cannot drop? Or actually this, because I think you came in after the fact. Herschel brought this up, and he said this, that if let's say the power brokers that be, all the way back to antiquity, knew this, the 11-year, 22-year solar cycle, popular uprisings, etc., so on, is it possible that they beat us to the punch and know it's coming and then start a new conflict? Because if they do, then we don't. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. It's like they're using the momentum of the cycle to press their political agenda in waves that they all agree to at Illuminati meetings or something,
Yeah, hell yeah. The alien sitting there at the chair or whatever.
Oh, no, I mean, like that little group, that 1%, right? If those leaders, they know that and share that kind of information and decide that war is business and the best time to do it is every 11 years, it's not a bad deal. It sounds really good, actually. I mean, I think America thinks war is business. So
yeah, unfortunately, and we're not the only ones, but we got some co-collaborators there, but yeah, it's unfortunate that it's continuing and constant. And I don't know if we can predict it. I don't know. So if that's the case, let's say that's the case, that the predictor is 11-year and 22-year cycles of the solar minimums and maximums. How do we get ahead of it? Do we have to start finding a way to revolt every 9 years? Like what's going on? How do we get ahead of it?
throw them off their game.
Exactly.
No, man. I just think we should all just try to learn to be coexisting in peace, man. Like from a personal level inside of you, out to the people that you know and talk with, and whatever you can do in your community to bring that sort of understanding and peace, right? Like, it's incumbent upon us. If we know that this is the way things are in the world, then the best resistance, not subsumed to that, right? To not let them control us. I mean, knowledge is power. So, don't let these people control us. And, whatever your mechanism is, vote or protest or whatever it is in the other direction.
Yeah, exactly right. And I'm not so sure voting is going to get us out of this mess, to be honest. But I'll just drop that out there as a Michael Strange commentary on the state of the world, especially if we're dealing with cosmic cycles. You're the best, brother. Thanks for staying up late with us. You got a final thought? We're about to wrap this up. You're welcome to stay a couple more minutes here, but just I don't know, be nice to each other. That's so novel, bro. WTF.
Well, it's the hard choice too, generally, for some reason.
Which is weird, which is incredibly weird. But you've been very nice to us, and it's reciprocal, and so you're definitely in the right place. So we're proving, as part of these conversations, whether we agree or not, all of us, that we can still be nice to each other, regardless of those things. So I think well said on your part, well said with the community here, and definitely you're preaching to the choir, brother. Thanks for staying up late. I know you got off work. My goodness.
Yes, sir.
I don't even know what time it is over there. You're not West Coast, so I'm sorry for staying up so late. But,
no, it's like almost 1 o'clock.
Oh, only 1 o'clock. No problem at all. Get your rest, man. Thanks for popping in here. Always a pleasure.
All right.
Have a great night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye.
Eric in Ohio, you know him, you love him. Again, a new friend, a good friend. I feel like I said this, I feel like I've known him my whole life. He popped in as a D&D nerd when we first did a D&D show, and he found us. And then he just been amazing ever since, as an academic and all the rest of this stuff, and a true troubled mind. That's a fact. You know how to find him? Very easy. Very easy. How do you find, again, many of the friends who are active and help us on the show? troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit. Super, super easy. Follow Eric here. It's alphabetical. Click it. Hammersmith Records or Hammersmith Music is where you'll find him. Again, search that directly or just go to troubledminds.org/friends. Click it. You'll get his link tree, which has all the projects he's working on. Very talented guy, musician-wise, of course. And as you can tell, he's a great thinker. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for staying up late. My goodness. He gets home late from work and gives us a call anyway. James, welcome back. I thought somebody banned you, James. But apparently not. Welcome back. What's going on?
I was saying in the chat, I wonder if the Sun decided to maybe tell me off a little bit for all my jokes about how much I don't like the Sun by disrupting my internet and killing my internet for a little while there. Because, yeah, my internet went down. So I got back here just as Eric's call was starting. So I'm really sorry I missed a good part of Kelly's call and then whatever came after that. But great topic and great calls from everyone. And I guess I can't talk so much about the Sun anymore now, like the way I've been doing.
Yeah. Also, we got disconnected earlier too, which I wonder, right? I do wonder. Like you tempt the Sun God, and your fate, your fate is no longer your own. which is like I said, I don't really know. Again, shout out Miss Honeybee 22 over there on YouTube. Thanks again. So much positive energy in the chat there, and for being part of this and caring about the ideas and the conversations. And yes, it's great to make new smart friends. And thank you for finding us. And yeah, all the rest of that. James, you know where to find him. You know him, you love him. SalsidoParanormal.com. Very easy. SALSIDO. That's how you spell that. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. It says follow James here. Please follow him in all the places. Check out his podcast. Check out his books he's written. Check out all the things he's doing. And that's why we do this. It's a collaborative effect. Like I said, I could do this for 20 minutes and then just kill it, like many others do. And there's no shade thrown at that. But recognize what we're doing is there's something a little more magical happening in terms of perspective. That's that. Anything else, James? Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think there's something to do with the Sun. I just like Eric said too, and I agree. If space is how we think it is, or if it's not, if it's anything even more bizarre than we think it is, where we're on one object that is circling another object that is moving around inside of a galaxy that is moving through space, then of course positions of objects, I think, and energies and all that are changing through all that movement would have effects on us. So, which is really really wild to think about that on the larger scale.
Especially if it's like us waking up aggro on the wrong side of the bed as a society and being like, you know what, today's the day. Everybody take to the streets. Hey, which is amazing because maybe we can program that ourselves and then not take to the streets, just be nice to each other instead. That's the way this goes. You're the best, James. Thanks for popping back in. Sorry about the this is what happens when you talk ill of Raw and Apollo, James. Be careful.
Apparently.
Your internet gets cut off. Follow James, troubleminds.org/friends. Follow James. It's alphabetical. Look, this is the point of these conversations, is to kind of look at this in a wide-ranging way. Think about not just the old ways, but the new ways, and where we stand in between. And of course, as usual, is it always about uprisings? Nah, of course not. As Eric very smartly said, hey, how about we just be cool and chill and be nice to each other instead, right? Such a novel thing. Except in 2025, it feels like it might be, which drives me nuts. Which brings me back several times a week. Again, apologies that I missed a couple days. I'm wimping out. My ancestors would be so disappointed in me. They're like, Mike, we gave you the strength of our lineage, our blood, and then you wimp out for like some heat. Totally. It's really bad. Like I said, 95 or 98, dry heat's one thing. When it's humid too, which doesn't happen often in Vegas, oof. As James likes to say, oof. Yes, not good. More Troubled Minds coming up on Sunday night. If you guys have ideas for shows, I'd love to hear them. Please send them to me. TroubledMindsRadio@gmail.com. Join the Discord, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link on top. By the way, the music we play on the show, shout out Fox River Taxi. I missed you earlier, I think. The music we play on the show is available. Link's going to be in the description down below. Please do that. As you can see, my video's glitching and stuff, and my computer's dying, and I've been limping along with a bad middling computer for a long time. So trying to do a crowdsource sort of upgrade here. If you enjoyed the show, please check out troubledfans.com. You can find... You will not find Michael Strange in a hot tub, but you will find the hottest Troubled Minds merch around. Check out the hats, the mugs. Thank you for the people that have supported the show. And in all the years we've done this, and recently especially, because I'm trying to get a new computer so we can do this for many, many, many more years to come. Troublefans.com. Check it out. The music is good. The people that have ordered it have said the CD bangs in the car as it does. And that's that. Thank you for caring. Thanks for listening. Thanks for staying up late with us. Like I said, I know that it's not the most opportune time for many of us, but here we are anyway. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. And this one is she still here? This is for our new friend. Who is this? Miss Honeybee. Are you still there? This one's for Miss Honeybee on YouTube. It's great to find new friends who are enthusiastic and care about the ideas, and thanks for all the great chat tonight. This one's for Miss Honeybee on YouTube. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. We'll see you on Sunday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, God willing. You know how it works. Tomorrow's not ours until it's in the books. Don't forget it, guys. Memento Mori. Be right back on Sunday. You guys have a great night.